Alexis of Memphis. Here are your hosts, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo, and Brett Stotts Norsworthy.
Oh, it's cold outside. Hope you're staying warm on this MLK Day, Martin Luther King Day. Nice to have you aboard. First time I've missed the symposium, I think ever. It used to always be perfectly timed doing the morning show. I could do that, go to lunch, go down there, start watching high school basketball, go to the symposium, watch the Grizzlies play. It's always a big day for me. And it really goes back to the very beginning. I give all the credit in the world to Michael Heisley. I think you got to throw in Andy Dolich. They came up with the idea. They brought the idea for approval to the NBA commissioner, David Stern, just recently passed, now a blessed memory, as they would say. And he was big on this idea, although for a little bit of time, and I don't know if he was still commissioner when it occurred, it seemed as if they downplayed it. They liked the idea enough where they started doing a full schedule of games starting in the morning all the way to the afternoon to honor MLK. I know that David Stern, when he first heard the word about it, was that of course the message that Dr. King had was really sort of the culture he was trying to make the NBA diverse, open to all, and certainly Adam Silver has adopted that. But there was a time, and it may have been when Silver took over, that there were so many of these games and Memphis was losing the national spotlight on it, and there wasn't as much, I think, spotlight on the symposium. And I think the NBA realized they made a mistake, and they've done a better job of that. And I've got the feeling Memphis will always be at home for the Martin Luther King holiday, and there will be a spotlight in the symposium, and it will be a national game. At least that, I believe, is the sense you get. And I think just Jason Wexler said that the other day. So this is, I think, a big day for the fabric. Whether they're winning or losing, we know they're winning 7 in a row. But I think it's a big day for the fabric of the Grizzlies, and I think now the NBA knows that.
Yeah, it's a big day, and not just for the Grizzlies organization or the players and fans getting to play on this day, but for the city, for what Martin Luther King means to the city, to the culture of Memphis, and to the culture of a lot of cities throughout the South, that it should be a day that we honor not only the man but the message.
Well, and that is clear, and I think you know that with Mike Pence coming yesterday. And a bunch of the people that are going to be involved in this symposium today, they were there as well. And I saw Grant Hill, who's not even a part of it, and he had come. So this does a good job, I think, of spreading the message of what is now a world-class museum and should be a big part of the Memphis culture is that Civil Rights Museum. And I think those the people that are involved with it do an unbelievable job of trying to keep it as relevant and updated as possible while preserving the history of it. And this only shines an even bigger spotlight on that museum.
It really does, and it's definitely something everybody should do. I know when you think about museums and stuff, especially as locals, you kind of think of, people kind of like, locals don't go to Graceland, but this is definitely something different. It's something everybody should do, something everybody should experience and truly take to heart of what the National Civil Rights Museum means to so many people and the struggle and the fight that it shows of while we still have a long way to go in our society today, how much we actually have achieved in such little time.
Every Shelby County school, I believe, and private school ends up taking field trips there. They should if they're not. And it is a regional draw. I always tell, anytime anybody comes to town, if they say, well, I want to go to Graceland, I always say, okay, make sure you go to 2 other places. You have to go to the Civil Rights Museum because it's a world-class museum, and you have to go to the Stax Museum. because I think that is a very, very cool museum as well. And you see Soulstown. And if you want to, go do the Sun Studio, because that performance there is terrific. These are all things when people come in. And go to Mud Island, see Mud Island. I hope they do something with the River Museum there. But I think Mud Island's a cool place to go take a walk, and the river walk that they have, the model of the river in its truest fashion all the way down. I think that's neat as can be. We got plenty that you can go see. There's no doubt about that. But start, a lot of them want to go to Graceland. That's fine. But start with that Civil Rights Museum, in my estimation, and learn a little bit more about the soul, I think, of this city. We got a busy show. Dave Ferguson, who used to be on with Peter and me in the morning all the time, every week, he's coming back for a little bit here. He is going to talk about Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone and 40 seconds of excitement.
Great Saturday. I mean, not just the main event with McGregor and Cowboy, but great fights all the way up, even through before you got to the main card, the stuff that was on ESPN. I probably watched pretty much about all 4 or 5 hours of it. I mean, great weekend for the UFC. I mean, that one girl, the girl that tore her ACL, and was just getting bloodied all over the mat. For her to finish was incredible. I mean, for somebody who's had a torn ACL, it's kind of hard to walk, and it's definitely, I figured it'd be pretty hard to fight. So for her to really guts it out and continue to fight and to try to make it all the way to the distance was incredible. The fights were amazing.
I didn't see any of the pay-per-view stuff. I did watch that last 2 preliminaries that ESPN showed before they actually went to a boxing match. And they were, that whole setup was to get you to go buy the pay-per-view. What was the cost of the pay-per-view, do you know?
$65.
65. And that young lady is 21 up against a 38-year-old veteran. It's a little like last night with Coco Gauff at 15 taking on 39-year-old Venus Williams in a pretty darn good match being replayed on ESPN2 right now as we speak. But, that was amazing. She, in the first round, tore her ACL. She'd already been hit with an elbow by on top of her, I think it was her right ear, and it was bleeding the whole time. And she hung in there. She was the favorite to win. In fact, and her name escapes me, Dave Ferguson will know, but she was, by Vegas odds, the biggest favorite of anybody on any of the card that whole night. And she got upset, and there was no question who won that fight.
If I remember right, thinking back, I obviously don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was a big night for underdogs. Every time that I think, other than McGregor, I think might have been one of the only favorites to actually win the fight on Saturday. So it was a big day for underdogs.
David Cobb, as usual, will join us here at 4 o'clock. Now, we'll talk a little bit of Grizzlies with him, but the truth is he's no longer working for the Commercial Appeal. He's working for CBS Sports, and he's doing a little college basketball. What a crazy, crazy week. Do you realize that 12 ranked teams lost to unranked teams over this last weekend? 12. That's pretty much half the top 25 lost to unranked teams. Craziest year for college basketball that I can ever remember.
I mean, right now we're already at our 7th ranked number 1 team. I mean, just incredible. And, it's part of my not top story, but how does if you're Gonzaga, you got to feel slighted by the move that you ultimately didn't lose, haven't lost since late November, and you still get jumped. Like, I just don't understand the rankings sometimes. But the weekend in college basketball was phenomenal. I mean, not just the upsets, but you had, I think, 4 games going to OT. I mean, this was the weekend that the college basketball needed to have to kind of capture the sports world, with the NFL slowing down, only having the Super Bowl, college football being over. So this was the right time for this type of craziness in the sport to happen, for everybody to get locked back in. I know it definitely helped me get back in.
All I know is Gonzaga is facing the same situation that the Tigers in the Glory Cal days faced, that you won a few games early against good teams. They had a loss. Cal wasn't even losing any games. And the credibility of your league killed you. And the bottom line is
But ultimately,
the
it's
West
something
Coast Conference doesn't do it for them.
It doesn't, but it's not like Gonzaga can just pack up and move conferences. I mean, I guess there's a way
they
that
had their chance. They had a chance to move to the Mountain West a couple of years ago. Most people thought they were going to do it, and they didn't. And there's San Diego State, which may be able to move up because there are better teams in the Mountain West and the West Coast Conference. Other than St. Mary's, who's any good in that league?
Nobody that really comes to mind. But when you change conferences, I mean, you got to think about other sports, and you can't just make a decision on one sport because then you end up having the UConn situation here where they're basically giving up on football, giving up on an entire program. So if you switch conferences like that, it could completely damage all the rest of your programs.
Well, so you talk about that, and Baylor did. They jumped over Gonzaga. They become the new number one. So that, I believe, is that the seventh? They hadn't been number one yet, right?
They have not. They're the seventh.
So they're the seventh. So now that ties the record for the most different number ones in 1 year, which is pretty amazing. So Baylor, Gonzaga, Kansas, 3 losses, and Kansas is still third. 3 losses. Kansas gets more respect than any other team, and I don't know why.
I guess it's just the name factor of it. And, when you think of Kansas basketball, you always think of being elite, obviously having a decent year, 14-3, but nowhere nearly as good enough to be the third best team. I mean, especially with San Diego State, I know they haven't played the same type of caliber teams as Kansas this year, but to be undefeated and not in the top 3, I mean, we got to think record has to matter. I mean, ultimately, you do get to control who you play, but not at this point of the season. I mean, San Diego State doesn't have a chance to go out and play an Oklahoma or somebody in the Big 12 about that caliber. They have to play Nevada. They had to play Nevada this weekend. That's not against them.
They haven't lost. They're the only team left since Auburn's not lost a couple of times in a row here. So San Diego State at 19-0 is 4, but at least if you go by these ratings, at 4 they would still be a number 1 seed. Certainly not going to be any worse than a 2 seed. Florida, so then Florida State is 5 after San Diego State. Louisville, which absolutely rolled, especially in the beginning of the game, Duke at Duke. Wow. I watched a bunch of that game. It was impressive. Dayton's got so many good athletes. They're 7. Duke, 3 losses. They're 8. Seton Hall or Villanova's 9. And then you start getting 4-loss teams. Seton Hall, Michigan State, Oregon, and Butler. Butler's only got 3 losses. West Virginia is 14. Kentucky, which amazingly, after Cal got kicked out of the game, went crazy in a good way and knocked off an Arkansas team that I thought when Cal got kicked out, that was it for Kentucky, that Arkansas was going to take over that game.
Yeah, it was crazy. I thought Arkansas was going to get them at that point. But did it look like Cal was trying to get thrown out on purpose? I thought it was. I thought it was a little bit of a stunt, maybe as a motivational factor.
I really didn't know. And here's what I will tell you. Either he was trying to get thrown out or they were so quick on the trigger. Because unless he is really cussing, and he's capable of that, but unless he is really cussing or saying something incredibly politically incorrect, the way that he got tossed, it like he never even stomped his foot. It looked to me like he screamed. So unless he's doing like Gene Hackman did in the movie Hoosiers, throw me out, and talking, what do you mean? Throw me out. Unless it was one of those, those referees, Ron Groover was one of them, they were very quick to knock him off.
Yeah, and like you said, we do know that he has the ability of cussing. I can't tell you how many of the post-game interviews I heard you do with Cal growing up where it seemed like every post-game he started off apologizing to the kids or the parents behind him and then would go into his spiel. I mean, it seemed like it was probably every game or at least every other game where he started off with an apology.
Well, Cal did have a routine, and then he had an agenda. And every post-game show, he started an agenda that would go on through the week until the next time he wanted to change the agenda. He was the master of that. In case you're wondering where Memphis ended up, they are 20. So they moved up 2 spots in the poll, 220, thanks to the win over Cincinnati. Or really thanks to this. All those other teams, and I mentioned it, 12 teams lost to unranked teams. Cincinnati was an unranked team. Cincinnati helped Memphis because it was a quadrant 1 win, I believe, and it helped Memphis to get up those 2 spots. If you're wondering, Wichita State dropped out of the AP poll. They are 22nd in the coaches poll. Memphis is 20 in that one too. Houston got into the AP poll at 25. They're into the coaches poll at 24. Wichita State remained in the coaches poll. So if you look at the coaches poll, 3 of the American teams are in. And I think Memphis, or I should say, the American's going to get 3 teams into the tournament. I think SEC teams, I think they're going to get 5. And I'm going to throw at the moment Arkansas into the mix, because I think Arkansas is really pretty good. Now, that was a tough one to lose because you're at home. You've taken over control of the game. The opposing coach gets knocked out, and then I think they went on a 13-0 run, Kentucky. I don't know what the answer to that was. But there should be a lot of excitement about college hoops down the stretch in this region because I think 5 SEC will get in, and I'm pretty sure at least 3 of the American will get in, and let's see what happens with Cincinnati down the stretch.
Yeah, Cincinnati's definitely the wild card, but I'm now starting to get a little bit more scared of Houston for being able to go into Wichita and knock off the Shockers by double digits. I mean, that's something that nobody does in Wichita State. So would you say, because going into the season, pretty much up to this weekend, you thought that the top tier was pretty much just Wichita and Memphis. Is Houston now, in your eyes, in the same league?
Oh, yeah. Here's the problem with Wichita State. They're not the best shooting team in the world. And, Memphis didn't shoot well that night. They're not a good free throw shooting team. So if they have a lead, you can get back in the game because they miss so many darn free throws. They're the worst free throw shooting team in the league. And that, I think, will end up being their Achilles. I'll tell you a team that is really good is Tulsa. I'm not saying they're going to make the NCAA tournament, but at home they're excellent, and the Tigers will be playing them on Wednesday. Their voice, Bruce Howard, will join us at 4:30. Mike Keith, voice of the Titans, will talk about this year and 19 expiring contracts and just how tough that game was, how tough it is to corral Patrick Mahomes. And then at 5:30, Bob Carpenter on all this baseball sign-stealing scandal stuff. He'll join us. The voice of the Nats at 5:30. At 5:50, it'll be crunch time. Stat's not here. He's taken the Martin Luther King holiday off. Good for him. He'll be here tomorrow. In the meantime, it is time for
Top Story of the Day.
Well, it's MLK Day, and the Grizz are going after their 8th straight. There only is one bummer to this whole day. The Pelicans are going to start the other guy who is going to be the Rookie of the Year, Zion. They're going to start him on the 22nd. Right? Today is the 20th, so they're going to start him on Wednesday against San Antonio. They could have started him today. It could have been the matchup between the 2 Rookies of the Year, who, by the way, played AAU ball together in South Carolina. The 2 teammates coming together, the 2 rivals for Rookie of the Year. For whatever reason, the Pelicans decided against it.
Would have been great TV. I mean, just the buildup of 1 versus 2 in the NBA draft. I mean, if you expect it to be 100% or close to it in 2 days, I mean, come on. We can get at least 10 minutes out of him 2 days before that. I think it's a little nitpicky there if we're really that worried about it.
I'm with you. It would have been great, but that's not what they did. So that's the only bad thing. And let's see if the Grizzlies get 8 straight. If they do, they'd be 1 game under 500. They already got a game and a half bulge on that last position in the playoff run, and then you just got to hope and cross our fingers that they don't go crazy and trade away a Jay Crowder or a Solomon Hill. Keep this group together. You can still get enough between Iguodala and Josh Jackson. You can still get something worthwhile, but please don't discount what making the playoffs might mean to your fans.
And I don't think they will. I think this front office is, while it's still in a young state of its existence, has had a decent track record of making the right decisions and what's best for not only the organization but what the fan base wants to see. So I think that they will ultimately keep it together. My top story of the day: 266 regular season and post and playoff games have led us to this. San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs are set to play in Super Bowl 54 in Miami. This will be the 14th time the Niners and Chiefs have played, with San Fran winning 7 of them dating back to December 6, 1971.
I'm looking forward to this Super Bowl. I do think you have probably the most complete team, San Francisco, against the best quarterback. And a little spoiler alert, the best quarterback usually wins.
Not top story of the day.
This one's sad. I don't know if you've heard this. It's just sort of breaking. The law firm that represents Chandler Parsons, the ex-Grizz, says the Atlanta Hawk forward suffered potentially career-ending injuries when he was in a car accident last week with an alleged drunk driver that caused the accident. And this is serious. He has multiple severe injuries, including brain injury. He's in concussion protocol, disc herniation, and a torn labrum. We already know he was not what he was. He was never going to be the same guy. He was obviously never going to be a superstar. I'm not sure he ever was going to be a superstar, but he was going to be a really solid player. And now he may never play again. And this is of no apparently of no fault to him.
Yeah, you hate to see it happen. Regardless of how you personally feel about his time here with the Grizzlies, you definitely don't want to wish this on anybody. And today is another reason why the internet and social media can be a good thing and then a not so good thing, because I can't tell you how many times I've already seen comments on stories on Twitter and Instagram of, with the headline saying career-ending injuries, people taking the stab at and saying that I thought his career was already over. This is a serious thing. I mean, this man was in a car accident. It's not time to really be making jokes, and that's just kind of the low end of Twitter and the social media stuff, and I just don't like it. My not top story of the day, I alluded to it earlier. The new college basketball AP poll was released today as the Tigers moved up 2 spots to number 20 in the poll, but Gonzaga, to no fault of their own, dropped 2 spots because their conference is weak and there's nothing they can do about it. And it's just, I just don't think it's fair. You can only play who's lined up against you. And if you win, and you should be credited for it.
I think at some point you have to take into account the total body of work. And honestly, I thought they'd won enough early where they could hold on, but apparently the voters don't think that. And Baylor does have one heck of a tough schedule, and the Big 12 is certainly a lot tougher than the West Coast Conference. This portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a big decision if you build that custom home. Maybe you're looking for a lot. Well, here's the way to go. He's got a new development called Alaylon. It is a gated community by Boyle at Messick Road, east of Kirby, right to McVeigh, 4-bedroom homes starting at $875,000. Now, you know that Ken builds them from scratch. Ken is the guy. This is 2 generations. Ken and his dad, they started this 50 years ago. And all they do is quality. Go look at any of the homes. Go to his website and Google and go look at this new development, Alaylon. Now, sometimes if you've got your own lot that maybe you've had in your history, your family history for years, he'll work with that. He'll figure out exactly how to best make that work. But you want to check out these new developments. He had one on Johnson Road that is filled now along a lake. It is gorgeous. Sold out. This is going to sell out too. Go look at a Leylon. Again, Messick Road, McVeigh, off East Kirby. 4-bedroom, beautiful homes starting at $875. Or call Ken. 751-1632. 751-1632. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. We're back in a minute. Dave Ferguson will be in the house as you listen to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Is imitation the sincerest form of flattery? Not.
When it comes to your car audio.
Stereo One is the leader in car audio, remote start, security, and more for the past 30 years. Stereo One is proud to announce the grand opening of their new location, 1983 Covington Pike, across from the Honda dealership. To celebrate their new location, Stereo One has marked down their entire inventory. Remote start systems at $129.
With free installation.
Subwoofer base packages start at just $199. Window tint starting at $129. The entire inventory of radios and touchscreens with features like Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, and backup cameras are marked to go. Check out Stereo One before you buy online. Their knowledge, friendly sales staff, and pro installation team will take care of you. Visit the Stereo One new location today, 1983 Covington Pike, across from Honda, or visit their mega store at Mendenhall and Winchester. Make sure you go to the originators and not the imitators.
Stereo One is still the one for your auto accessories.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
And the coach calls timeout.
Wait a minute, you can't call timeout when you have leaks and Mother Nature is roaring through your home.
A technical foul from outer space may be in order.
Don't know about that, but we can measure your roof from outer space at BrianElderRoofing.com.
So if you need repairs or wondering if you think you may have a claim,
Call me before you call your insurance company. And we've got 0% interest for 60 months with approved credit. We won't try to sell you a new roof if all you need is a repair.
my friend Chris Price, a longtime donor of the U of M. Call him, 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
God bless America, Penny and Mike, and go Tigers.
And now back to the game.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
In general, I'm a win-win guy. When I have to spend hours searching for the right part, it's lose-lose. Time lost for me and lost time for my crew. That's why I order from Grainger. With product experts that have the answers to my toughest questions, an easy-to-use website to help me find the right product quickly, I can rely on Grainger to make getting supplies for my business as simple and seamless as possible. When it comes to getting things done, it's a win-win when Grainger's got your back. Call clickgrainger.com or stop by to see for yourself. Grainger, ones who get it done.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for fall flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. We're located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs. Look forward to seeing everyone over the holidays.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Just cruising through our first hour. Stats off. We're in the Family Leisure Studios, but I got to remind you, they've got a problem. They got to make room for incoming inventory at I-40 and Wooden Road where family and fun come together. And that means that you can save thousands on all the floor model spas, floor model play gyms, are up to 50% off. Patio furniture, 10 to 50% off. Don't wait until May to purchase your swimming pool. By now, and you get scheduled for spring installation, you get priority. There's also discounts on all the swimming pools, grills, fire pits, outdoor kitchens, everything has to go because stuff's coming in, and you are the winner when that occurs at Family Leisure, I-40 and Whidden Road. It is a real pleasure to bring back to these microphones Dave Ferguson, who's got an MMA empire literally all across the country and plenty of gyms here. And I love talking MMA. And in fact, every time I see an MMA thing and I got a question, I know the guy to ask. Now, my son is pretty good. Jacob, he knows his stuff, but not like the one and only Dave Ferguson. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Doing great. It's awesome to be back here again. The studio's changed a little bit. It looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're streaming
Yep.
all the time, so we have to look good.
Right.
All right, so how big a weekend was this for UFC? It seemed as if UFC had lost a little of its stature, of a little bit of its hold in the boxing martial arts market, and I think this might have been what brought them back. And of course, it's one guy that always does it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, the thing about it is the UFC has obviously gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over time, but the market started to get a little bit saturated. I mean, there's fights on all the time. So what the UFC has always needed is a big star to really propel it forward. Well, currently that big star is Conor McGregor, and everybody else is far behind. So when you have a McGregor fight, obviously everybody comes out to see the fight. Everybody purchases the fight. So it was a huge weekend for MMA.
How big really is McGregor? Is it all hype? Is he a great fighter? When you were on with us, he and really my girl Ronda Rousey, they were the big stars. She actually had, I think, at one point had the highest pay-per-view rating of anybody. And then when she got beat, that sort of she quit, and that was the end of her.
Right.
But at the same time, Khabib came around, and he was clearly superior to McGregor.
Yes.
And McGregor hadn't won an MMA fight in, 3 or 4 years until he knocked Cowboy Cerrone out in 40 seconds. How good is he really? You know, he got his big money and more hype by losing to Floyd Mayweather. How good, truly, is Conor McGregor?
Conor McGregor is one of the best. I mean, a lot of people want to talk bad about him because he lost to Khabib. He lost to Diaz in the first fight.
Yeah.
First of all, Khabib is a monster. Khabib is the best outside of maybe John Jones. So there's no shame in that. I mean, Khabib is the best guy out there. Conor, you know, you got to think about a guy like Conor. He's got so many different things going on. He wants to be, people want to interview him all the time. He has a kid, a family. He's got so much going on. It's hard to dedicate the time to training like he needs to. And he's even admitted before that Khabib fight that he really didn't put the time that he needed to. Now, he's made a lot of mistakes in his personal life and things like that that have cost him a lot of time away from the gym, obviously. But for this particular fight against Cerrone, in every interview I saw him in, he said, hey, the difference between this fight and others is I'm laser focused. I'm training 2, 3 times a day. I've shut everything out. I'm not even drinking right now, which, you know, he's got his own like Irish whiskey, Proper 12. He's like, I haven't drank in 6 months. I'm totally focused on this fight. And he basically said, look, a focused Conor McGregor, you're going to see the best Conor McGregor. And guess what? We saw the best Conor McGregor. This was the most impressive performance I've ever seen of him. He looked great.
Is Cowboy Cerrone a worthy opponent?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, again, a lot of people want to say, well, Cowboy's on his way out. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's at the tail of his career, but he's definitely not at the height of his career. But let me tell you something. Donald Cerrone has had more fights than anybody in the UFC, so he's the most experienced guy in the UFC ever. In fact, he holds the record for that. He holds the record for most wins in the UFC, 21 wins, all right? He holds the most finishes, the record for it, 16 finishes, and the most post-fight bonuses. So he's an exciting fighter. He's a finisher. This was a worthy opponent for Conor. It was a perfect opponent for Conor before Conor moves on to maybe bigger fights. I mean, a Khabib rematch is possibly in the works, which I'd love to see that.
That would be the biggest one, wouldn't
yes.
it? That would break all the records?
Yes, absolutely. There's even been talk floated out there about another Floyd Mayweather fight.
I would not pay to see that.
I don't think I want to see that either. You know, that would be interesting, though, for, you know, to bring boxing fans in also. But I think Conor versus Khabib would be the biggest fight in MMA history, by far.
Who would win?
I never, I always count Conor out. I always say, well,
Did you think he was going to beat Cowboy?
Oh, yeah. I did think that, but I thought it would be a tough fight. I thought it would be a knockdown, drag-out fight. I didn't see Conor looking this good. I mean, he looked awesome. Really, really awesome. I got to go with Khabib. They fight again. I think it's the same result. I think Khabib takes him down. I think Conor gets smothered. Conor can't move. I think Khabib submits him again. I just think that's a bad matchup for Conor. And look, to be fair, Khabib's a bad matchup for anybody. The guy's he's just that good.
Conor fought at 175 against Cerrone, correct?
170.
170.
170. Yep.
He'd have to fight Khabib at 155.
155. That's right.
Could there be a compromise and come up and fight at 162 and a half?
Well, no, because it would be for the title. For the title belt, it has to be on weight. It has to be an all-weight fight. Now, you can do catch weight fights if it's not for a title belt, but if it's for a title belt, you have to be on weight. You have to do scratch weight. So, I think that Conor, he has said his interest is because he's already won the 145 belt before. He won the 155 belt. Remember, he was the champ, the double champ. Well, he has come out and said that he wants to go after the 170 belt now. Now, he's got some some stiff competition at 170. I think he would be wiser to go back and fight Khabib again. It's a better payday also, and fight at 155. But, you know, I mean, who knows? I mean, Conor is Conor. I mean, he can basically call any fight he wants because he's the money fight, you know? So let's see what happens. Maybe he'll go after the 170 belt.
He can call those, but he has to be in concert with Dana White. Is that a fact, or is Dana realizes this is the cash cow,
This
and
is the golden goose.
and I'll go with whatever he wants?
This is the golden goose. I mean, within reason, of course. Within reason. I mean, if Conor comes out and makes demands that the UFC is just not going to go for, then that's one thing. But if it's within reason and it's down to, hey, do you want to keep fighting at 170? Or do you want to go back and fight Khabib again and rematch at 155? I mean, they're going to have to throw a lot of money at Conor, and for that matter, they're going to have to throw a lot of money at Khabib. Why would Khabib rematch Conor? I mean, what for? He already beat him, right? Mm-hmm. So what's his interest in doing that? Money. So the UFC is going to have to come off a lot of money for Conor, a lot of money for Khabib. I mean, so I think that's the fight they want to make anyway. But when I say Conor calls his shots, he calls his shots within reason because he is. I mean, look at the draw. Look at the draw compared to any other UFC. You could take the past, 10 UFCs in a row. It would not have the same. I mean, put them all together. It's not going to have the same amount of people watching that were watching this weekend when Conor fought.
What were the numbers for that? Do you know?
They haven't come out yet as far as the viewerships or pay-per-view goes. Now, as far as pay goes, I know Conor was paid $3 million. That's what's reported,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, the pay-per-view buys haven't come back yet, but they're estimated he'll probably make about $40 million total on this fight.
So he's going to get $37 million out of his share of the pay-per-view.
Yes, that's what they're estimating.
No wonder he wants to fight 3 or 4 times every year now.
Yes.
Catch it while you can.
Exactly.
And he could probably double the interest if he fights Khabib.
Yes.
I would say. And what I forget, he made $50 million out of the Floyd Mayweather fight, didn't he?
I think he made more than that. I think he made
maybe it's 100.
Yeah, it was close to 100, I think is what he made. Yeah. So pretty good little payday.
Who else came out as a star? And I think one of those people, even though she lost, was Macy Barber, the 21-year-old, the little tough girl who tore her ACL and yet finished the fight, and she tore her ACL in the first round.
The heart she showed. Now, Macy Barber is an up-and-coming, I think a champion in the making. That's what I think. She was undefeated going into this fight. She's only 21 years old. She turned pro at 19, and, her father's like her manager. Well, her father has said that, she basically started training at 6 or 7 years old. And all she's ever wanted to do is to be a professional fighter. So her dad took her around everywhere, got her training. She's been laser focused. Going into this fight, she was a huge, huge favorite.
Biggest favorite of anybody on the card.
Yes, by far. Then she tore her ACL. That was it. I mean, in the first round, she tore her ACL. Yeah. And, I mean, most fighters would have said, hey, that's enough. I tore my ACL. The doctor would come in. But she wanted to fight. I mean, she wanted to continue, and it showed her heart. It showed her grit, and she'll be back. She'll for sure be back, and I believe she'll be a champion as well.
What about Roxanne, who's 38 years old, the girl that won the fight?
She's good. I mean, she's a veteran. She's been around for a long time. She trains in Las Vegas with some great fighters. But, Roxanne's one of those that wins some, loses some. She's not an impressive athlete, but she's a cerebral fighter. I mean, she fights smart. But Macy fights smart. Macy is strong at that weight class. She's young. She's hungry. So not taking nothing away from Roxanne. Nothing at all. I mean, she's a great fighter also, but that fight would have been completely different if Macy wouldn't have torn her ACL, for sure.
I tend to agree with that. All right, who else? Who else came out big in this pay-per-view?
Holly Holm, I want to say that, Raquel Pennington was a decent fight for Holly Holm. I thought that she would give Holly Holm a better fight, but Holly Holm dominated this fight. Holly Holm is, I think, 38, 39 also.
I was going to say, I thought she was older because she was already up there when she upset Ronda Rousey.
That's right. And so she's been around a long time, too. She's a veteran. I always love seeing her fight. I think she's awesome. Another fighter that stood out to me that I thought was great was Askarov. He beat Tim Elliott earlier on the night. I think that was the opening fight on the
pay-per-view?
Well, on the free. On the free TV. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So that was an impressive fight. He looked really, really good. He was tough. So, I mean, as far as the standouts, those are the people that stood out to me, really. And then Connor. I mean, Connor looked phenomenal. He looked phenomenal. Really phenomenal.
Ronda Rousey, whatever happened to her?
She's in the WWE now. She's a WWE super.
She's a wrestler.
Yeah, she's a wrestler. A wrestler. She's a wrestler now.
Does that sadden you at all? That she went to theatrics instead of sticking around? And, I mean, she helped to build UFC up, I thought.
She did. No, she really did. I think that she left a little bit too early. I think she had more fights left in her and more big fights, that were like superstar type fights. But it's like this, a lot of times in the fight game, you have to have somebody who's a worthy opponent, right? Somebody who's going to make that great fight. I think that after she fought Holly Holm, she really didn't want to fight anymore. I think she just kind of lost that interest. There wasn't really anybody out there that she had some sort of, I don't know, some kind of history with or something like that, like an Ollie Frazier or something.
She could have fought a rematch with Holly Holm.
Yeah, but she didn't want that. She didn't want that.
She just knew she couldn't beat her.
I think so. That's the funny thing about this sport. This sport, you'll have somebody come along that's just amazing, and then there's always a fighter out there that has your number. They have some quality about them, some technique, some skill set that where you're lacking and you're exposed. And I think she was exposed against Holly Holm. Every fighter has a chink in their armor, and I think that once she was exposed, I think she said, "You know what? That's enough for me. That's good. I'm going to go make some money now." And something I want to say easier, but a little easier. Yeah.
Is she doing well
I think so.
WWE?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really follow her career much now, but I think she's doing okay. However, she's a competitor at heart. Remember, she was a judo silver medalist.
That's right.
She's a competitor at heart. I wouldn't be too terribly surprised
someday
to see her back in the sport, and I hope so.
You mentioned nobody's like ever undefeated in this thing.
No.
Conor McGregor, the biggest draw. What has he lost? 3 or 4 times now, right?
Lost 4 times.
4 times. What about Khabib?
So that's interesting. So Khabib is 28-0 right now, undefeated. Fighters don't go undefeated forever. It doesn't happen. Now John Jones is undefeated also, but he's the greatest of all time. I mean, he's the GOAT. There are some fighters, like John Jones and a Khabib that they're going to be really hard to beat. Now, do they have chinks in their armor? Of course, every fighter does. It just takes the right opponent to find that chink, and thus far, nobody's found that chink in Khabib.
And John Jones, the guy that you say is the greatest whoever went into the cage, he's suspended? Is that what's his status? Where
to be honest,
what's happened to him?
To be honest with you, I can't keep up with his suspensions. He's suspended. He's not suspended. He's fined for this. He's fined for that. I think he's out of the woods right now. I think he's doing okay right now.
So would we see him again?
Yeah, he's going to actually fight, and I think in March.
But they wouldn't put him on the same card with McGregor because
no.
There's too many.
Yeah,
you got 2 different paydays that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dave Ferguson, how is the mixed martial arts business when it comes to classes and training and gyms?
It's great.
Is it still as good as it was, say, when you left here, when it seemed to be really ascending as a sport?
Absolutely. Well, I'll say this. It used to be 5, 6, 7 years ago, a lot of people would come in and want to be fighters, right? Now it's not that as much. You have some people that do that, but most of the time it's people, they want to come in and just learn the skills, and they want to get in great shape. They want to have fun doing it. They want to learn how to defend themselves because, the sport's been out there a long time, so sort of the newness is worn off. So a lot of people are like, oh, I want to be a fighter. But once they come in for other reasons, they discover how much they love it. a lot of guys end up wanting to compete, and they want to test their skills a little bit. But, yeah, it's a great business, and we're doing great.
I'm glad to hear that. You are a great spokesperson for the sport.
Thank you, sir.
That.
Thanks for having me.
Dave Ferguson, give me, again, if somebody wanted to learn, to train, what would they do?
Sure. Yeah. So Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, we are on Highway 64, been in business 18 years, world-class facility, 24,000 square feet. We've got everything you could ever imagine there. Jiu-Jitsu, kids classes, judo, mixed martial arts, Muay Thai kickboxing, boxing, fitness kickboxing, you name it. Check us out on our website at memphisbjj.com. Or if you want to just get in shape and learn how to punch and kick, we have some fitness kickboxing facilities, which are phenomenal. Just right around the corner over here on Quince Road, Yorkshire Shopping Center, 5681 Quince Road. We also have Midtown, Memphis Fitness Kickboxing, and Cooper Young. Visit us at memphisfitnesskickboxing.com. First class is always free.
Always free. Good stuff. We appreciate it. Dave Ferguson, that's the status of what's going on with MMA and that great card that everybody seemed to be glued to Saturday night. We'll take the time out. When we come back, it'll be time for Precious Metals. Stick around. This is Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Tiger Hoops fans have something extra to look forward to this coming March. Not only is it tournament time, but it's the opening of the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum.
After Finch's two-pointer, Ronnie Robinson sank the shot that once again brought the two teams into a tie.
Come to the Pink Palace Museum this March and experience 100-plus years of Tiger men's and women's basketball, from their beginnings as the West Tennessee State Normal School to the present.
The Tigers are very much alive.
Don't miss the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum, opening March 7th.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Make your day smoking with the Big Green Egg. You can smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Ceramic never rusts, and the easy, accurate temperature control gives you the greatest range of any grill. Make your next grill your last with the Big Green Egg. Available at these nearby locations: Hamilton Fireplace Shop, 4462 Summer Avenue; Germantown Hardware Company, 2083 South Germantown Road; Garden Spas and Pool, 9393 Poplar Avenue; and East Memphis Ace Hardware, 5143 Quince Road.
If you're someone that enjoys a truly great steak, then there's only one choice for you downtown: 117 Prime. 117 Prime has lots of different things on the menu, but the main attraction is the steaks. Prepared by chefs that love a great steak, you can choose from the 5 or 10 ounce fillets, the 16-ounce prime, the 8-ounce top sirloin cap culotte, or the 14-ounce New York strip, or the king of them all, the 24-ounce dry-aged porterhouse. You heard that right, 24 ounces of the best steak you've ever tasted. If you're craving steak, then head downtown to the steak experts. Head to Prime.
First Bank is here to help you, whether you're a business looking for a loan to expand or refinance an existing one, a homeowner looking for a mortgage or home equity line, a consumer wanting to finance your dream car, or wanting a competitive rate on your CD deposits. Let First Bank try to handle your banking needs. Stop into one of First Bank's 3 local branches today: 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper, 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase, and 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or check them out online at firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Once again, Stats off. Hope it's a peaceful Martin Luther King Day for you today. I know a lot of you may be on your way headed down right now to the FedEx Forum for the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. I wish I had gone to what I think was probably another very emotional, stirring, educational symposium. Pete Pranica, we'll have to get him on maybe later this week and talk a little bit about what that was like for him. In the meantime, I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, the tune-up. The $57 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-up. If you don't know by now, I've been preaching this for about a month and a half. If you don't get your tune-up, if you skip that very important little step, you lose up to 5% efficiency every time you miss one. Every time. Now, it's $57 to make sure your system lasts longer, that your house gets heated, and it's freezing outside, and that you save money on your MLGW bill. Well, this is the ticket. For $57, all you got to do is call 384-3511. 384-3511. Honestly, they come in. They do such a good job. They will put on their little slippers. They'll go in, and they'll clean all your filters and then do all the tune-up inside. Then they go outside, clean the outside units, and suddenly you know your system's going to last longer, and it's going to be efficient. 384-3511, Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and the tune-up. It's time for Precious Metals. I got a bunch. Drew, I'm going to start with Lee Westwood. What? The old man? Yeah. He won at Abu Dhabi yesterday, 46 years old, so he doesn't have that many more wins, but that was his 25th Euro PGA title, and now he has won in 4 decades. His first one was in 1996. I'm going to give silver medals to Pat Mahomes. And really what really did in my mind the Titans yesterday was that play with 10 seconds left to go in the game, in the half. They're still leading. And Patrick Mahomes made 6 guys miss, maybe. I mean, he was spectacular. He just wouldn't go down. And he gave the Chiefs their first lead in the game with just seconds left to go in the first half. And I thought it broke the spirit. And then they were getting the ball back to start the second half. That was incredibly big. And then I got to give a silver medal. So silver goes to Patrick and the Chiefs. Because you know what? Chiefs defense played pretty good. When you hold Derrick Henry to 7 yards in the second half, 69 total, your defense is much improved. So the Chiefs, their D and Mahomes, they get a silver. Raheem Mostert, 180 rushing yards yesterday. Or 220, excuse me. The biggest in the history of any running back in Kansas City's long tenured time. That was pretty amazing. And they just know how to play D2. You know, you had a guy like Aaron Rodgers just totally baffled by the schemes that they were coming up with on the San Francisco sideline. It sets up a Super Bowl best quarterback against the best total team. And then my gold medal, well, it's 2 of them. One goes to the co-ed pom-pom camp, a cheerleading team, which won the 2020 National Championship, the Tigers cheer and pom. And then I also have to give one to Michael Heisley, Andy Dolich, and the late, great David Stern for coming up with the concept of a Martin Luther King holiday symposium and game.
I'll start with my bronze. Going to give a bronze to your Patrick Kane for reaching 1,000 points in his historic career with the Blackhawks over the weekend. You got to give a big shout out for that.
You realize that the Blackhawks have won 5 in a row and actually are making a move up the standings?
Yeah, I have noticed that, and it's making me a little mad because Preds are kind of teetering back and forth. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one for the last 2 weeks.
Ahead of the Preds now. Wow, that's never happened before. Yeah, you got so excited about Kane and the Blackhawks that you somehow Speed it up.
Somehow I speeded up the music. I knew it sounded a little weird in my head. Also going to give a bronze to the Grizzlies for winning their 7th straight game against the Cavs, 113-109. And got to give a bronze to Ja Morant for continuing his Rookie of the Year campaign and just being the human highlight reel that he is. So just phenomenal. Going to give a silver to Sammy Watkins for having a career day yesterday. 7 catches, 114 yards, and his first touchdown since week 1. And also Patrick Mahomes for his 294 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. Going to give a silver to Marcus Smart for setting the Celtics record for threes in a game with 11 of them, and the Celtics lost to the Suns. Smart finished 11 of 22 from beyond the arc and 37 points. 2 golds. Going to give a gold to the Chiefs defense for finally being able to stop Derrick Henry, keeping him at just 69 yards on 19 catches. And, of course, a gold to Monster for his historic day with 220 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Good stuff. I'm going to give a rust to Vanderbilt. In Vandy's loss to Tennessee, they did not hit a 3. And if I heard this correctly, it is the first game in over 1,000 that Vanderbilt failed to hit a 3-point shot. That is amazing. I got to give a rust to any of the top 25 teams, 12 of them that lost to unranked teams. I believe that 5 top 10 teams lost 6 games last week, too. That's incredible. If you're a top 5 or even a top 25, there is no resting this year. Anybody can beat anybody. Just ask Wichita State that got waxed by Houston at home. I would not have thought that possible.
I wouldn't have thought that either. Are you done with your rust?
Yeah.
All right, I just got one quick rust, and it's more of a feel sorry for. I actually do feel sorry for North Carolina for losing 4 straight and now being under 500 for the first time in January since 2002. Those words I never thought would come out of my mind when I watch a North Carolina basketball game going, I ultimately feel sorry for them. And that's what they've become this year.
You're going to start feeling even more sorry. They got 2 games left with Duke, 2 games left with Louisville, 2 games left with Florida State. There's 6 more. They're never getting over 500.
They're done.
The Tar Heels not going to make the tournament. They're not in the top 25. 3 in the coaches' polls. 3 AAC teams. Wow. That's nice new stuff. That's an hour in the books. When we come back, our friend David Cobb from CBS. He joins us next on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. For more than 26 years, they've supplied all the diesel parts that you need. From simple repairs to complete overhauls, they have it all. Whether it's heavy, medium, light-duty, agricultural, marine, or off-road, Mid-South Power is the leading source for all things diesel. Fuel injection, turbochargers, engine parts, alternators, starters, and brakes, they can supply all the parts and services you need. Stop in today at 3250 Mill Branch Road in Memphis or call 901-396-0710.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Upgrade your commute at Acura of Memphis. Seize the thrill and test drive one of our award-winning models, each packed with cutting-edge technology, luxurious amenities, and a driving experience that's sure to awaken your inner self. Driving shouldn't be a chore, it should be an adventure. Advance your drive today, shop our aggressive lease and finance options now. Luxury is waiting at Acura of Memphis, or shop online 24/7. Visit AcuraofMemphis.com.
Play here.
Pass to Tyree, pulls for a three. Good! What a bucket! A three in transition. Dunk by Buffin. Oh my goodness! Yes! Schuler fires a three. Good! DeMarte Schuler with a dagger.
Catch the action all season long on your exclusive home for the Rebels.
Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We welcome you back in, and we let you know the title sponsor really is Genesis of Olive Branch. That is the number one luxury car on the planet. I love talking about this car because every time, like today, I got up and you know what? It showed me that my car tire PSIs were low. In other words, the air in my tires were low because of the incredible change in temperatures. So, but it showed me every wheel and the amount of air in each tire and how much I needed to add to each tire. The car talks to you. These Genesis cars, so plush. By the way, I used my seat warmers today and my wonderful, and this is, you wouldn't think of this. You don't need gloves in your car because you got a steering wheel warmer. Come on. Really? Yes, sir. Not kidding around. And if I could just hit a button and tell the car what to do. I can hit a button and the car will drive itself. Never seen technology like this. And it's so good you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new Genesis. I got a G90. You can get one even more sports car like I call it the James Bond car, the G70. Go see what I'm talking about. Just take Lamar into Mississippi, get to Craft Road. It's exit 1. Turn left, and you'll be there at Genesis of Olive Branch. We got a couple of texts. One texter, even though we hadn't brought this up, but I've been thinking about it, Mr. B's closed. They're looking for a new owner.
I did see that last week.
I'm very sad. I love going in there. I particularly love the chopped steak. I think it's the greatest chopped steak in Memphis, maybe the best I've ever had. So I'm hoping that somebody else buys that. But somebody reminds me, and this makes me sad, with the demise of Mr. B's, that means the end of the George Lapidus special, which was the crawfish etouffee on top of rice. Man, I hope somebody has to buy this restaurant and keep the George Lapidus special on there. I hope that happens. Somebody who is a John Calipari hater basically goes, I think Cal should get a 12-game suspension for his blatant disregard of rules. He ran out on the floor, too. You can't do that. Now, come on. I watched the game. And Cal was, what would you say, 2 steps on the floor? Because he was talking to the referee? They were all by the monitor? There's no way he ran onto the floor. That is not why he got the tees.
He was about the center court line.
He was out of the box.
He was out of the box, but it's not like he was standing at center court.
No. And he was on his side of the center line. He was talking to the referees. He couldn't have been more than a step and a half or 2 onto the court. That is not way out onto the court. That is where every coach. I've watched coaches, man, they disregard the box. They just come all the way to midcourt. Tom Crean. My gosh, Tom Crean, he was on the other side of the timeline.
It looked like he was going over there to talk directly to Penny at some point during that game.
I couldn't believe how he disregarded the box. Come on now. I mean, you don't love Cal? That's okay. One last text, and then our good friend David Cobb joining us on this holiday. He'd be into this because he's going to be doing some golf for CBS. Wolo, don't forget to mention a great above the, I guess it was a camera from above. And I got to be honest, I didn't see this, but I've heard about it, that at the American Express Golf Tournament in Palm Springs this past week, there was a hole-in-one by an amateur with only one arm. That is amazing. Born with one arm, so that's how he knows how to play. And he made the hole-in-one on a 150-yard par 3. His pro partner was Troy Merritt, who couldn't congratulate him enough. We congratulate him, too. That is spectacular. I'm going to have to Google that to see it, but it must have been a terrific shot. In the meantime, on Mondays, he used to be the beat writer for the Commercial Appeal for the Grizz. Now he works for CBS, doing all kinds of different stuff. David Cobb, how are you on this Martin Luther King Day?
I'm doing well. How are you, Wolo?
I'm good, even though I'm working. I missed my first symposium in years, but
yeah. Good lineup. I mean, as always, but a great lineup this year.
Mm-hmm. I would have loved to have heard what Robert Parrish had to say, or Karan Butler.
Absolutely, I was there last year. I covered it last year, and I mean, Bill Walton, being the big personality that he is, kind of stole the show. But I mean, it was a great event.
It really is, and it's a part of the fabric now of this community and of this franchise, the Grizzlies, and it all goes back to Michael Heisley and really Andy Dolich and David Stern. David Stern was a big part of that.
Yeah, I learned that after he passed recently. I was digging into sort of the archives, or the Commercial Appeal archives, to do a story on what impact he might have had on Memphis, and I learned, that he was a fan of bringing teams to what they call, one-team cities, and Memphis certainly was that, at the time, and well, still is, I guess, technically. And then he was also a big proponent of that game, and so Evan Barnes wrote about it again the other day. But we've had a couple of stories here in the Commercial Appeal recently about, his legacy and his impact on making this game an annual tradition.
And before we move on to the new interest that you'll have for CBS Sports, let's talk a little bit about today's game, because if the Grizzlies beat the Pelicans, and I think they're favored to do so, the last line I saw, it was off the books. I'll double-check here in a second.
The Pelicans are actually playing good now, but yeah, it's weird.
But the Grizz could win their 8th in a row. Did you ever in the time that you covered them for about a year now, did you ever think that this team would have a run like this 8 in a row?
Not a chance. I mean, not a chance. A year ago today, or whatever, I don't know, I guess it wasn't the exact date, but I mean, it was exactly pretty much a year ago when this team hit rock bottom. I mean, the MLK Day game last year was just the worst. And I mean, it was shortly thereafter that Robert Parrish came to town. And from what I understand, he had to be talked out of just blowing the whole thing up then. And he kind of waited till the end of the season to officially reshuffle everything. But I mean, no. I mean, a year ago it was absolute disaster. I mean, it was as low as the franchise has been in a long time. I think even lower, in my opinion, than when Mike Conley was hurt the year before, because you at least had the built-in excuse that season of Mike Conley being hurt, and you had no built-in excuse at this time last year when the team was, I think, 20-33 after that game. It was just what seemed like a hopeless situation. And boy, hope has come back awfully quick. It's unbelievable.
I would say this. I think you and Robert Parrish just absolutely identified that as I believe the lowest point that the Grizzlies had since they came to Memphis. Even when Michael Heisley had the 3-year plan, last year on Martin Luther King Day, they looked like a team, not that it just quit, but a team that really wasn't interested in playing.
And on that day, on that stage, it was just, I mean, it was shameful, really. I mean, Anthony Davis wasn't playing for the Pelicans. I mean, they let Jahlil Okafor go on him that day. I mean, it was, I wish I could tell you I remember what the mood was like in the locker room. I really don't remember specifically because they all run together after a while, but I kind of wish I could go back and see what it was like in that locker room then and compare that to what it was like just, a week or so ago when I left, because I mean, it's just, it's like I said, it's just unbelievable, and so many people deserve credit, because where it is. But hey, I guess we got to give Tara a little credit because, I mean, he really made the changes. I mean, he made the changes that needed to be done, to kind of get this thing going back in the right direction.
I asked this of Peter a little bit at the end of last week on Friday. What was the biggest move? And I think I touched on that with you a bit last week. But really, putting Zach Kleiman in charge to make these moves to get Taylor Jenkins, and then everything else that went with that. But just that move in deciding he was going to put his faith in this guy with very little experience, but very heady for sure, has really paid off.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think getting the number 2 pick is the biggest one, and then but you got
that's just luck.
Even there.
That part is just luck because the only thing you could do there would be screw it up, and I think everybody by then knew. Yeah,
I mean, they've done it before, and so the fact that they refused to overcomplicate it, and they just went with the obvious choice in John Morant, I think is wonderful because I mean maybe a previous regime could have talked itself into, well, okay, we got the number 2 pick. Let's keep Mike Conley and add R.J. Barrett, and maybe we'll make a playoff run, with Mike or something. I think maybe a past regime might have kicked the bucket on or kicked the tires on that idea. But this regime deserves credit for refusing to overcomplicate it. Because as it turns out, they're making a playoff run without Mike Conley and with John Morant. So it's unreal.
Well, let's not forget that the voices in that locker room were mainly Marc Gasol last year and Mike Conley, and this on their watch, this quitting, this disinterest happened. And I'm not saying those two guys were quitters, but they lost connection with the rest of the team, and then of course they had their own injuries and their own issues, and now the voice of that locker room appears to be the two young guys, Morant and Jackson, along with Jay Crowder and Solomon Hill.
I think last year's team just lost its spirit a lot too. I mean, they started out so well playing an archaic style, and then they just started getting run out of the gym in late December and into January. And it was apparent that it was just broken. I mean, the style they were trying to play just wasn't working. And what could they even do to fix it? I think they could just kind of had to begin acknowledging that it was unrepairable. And they started playing better after the trade deadline, but only because they started playing a different style. And I guess that was probably what was so deflating about it, is because I think they really started to believe last season that they were back. They were 12-5. They were playing the style that the city initially embraced with Conley and Gasol and the rest of the core four, and then it just broke. I mean, it just absolutely broke. And so I love the fact that Taylor Jenkins didn't even pay lip service to grit and grind when he showed up, and that at preseason media day when somebody referenced that term, he just sort of shrugged. Not out of any disrespect for what was done. I mean, if you talk to the guy long enough, it's clear that he has a ton of respect for the 7 straight playoff runs and sort of the history that was made during that time. But like, he's not paying any sort of cursory homage to an old archaic style of places. You know what? I mean, I know what we need to do to be competitive in today's NBA, and the system he's put in place has absolutely done that.
The thing, and I read this from your buddy Evan Barnes today about all the different templates that he's got and how he documents every little communication that he's had with the team on various different things and on his style of play. It is very impressive as to how organized he is and how obviously set he is on a system that he's got, but yet not so rigid where he wouldn't take feedback from his team when he says, "Look, I don't have all the answers yet."
Yeah, he's got an Ivy League brain with a Texas demeanor, and that he's relatable. He's has good people skills, so he's not so far off in the clouds intellectually that he can't relate to you. But also, he's does sort of have that elevated academic pedigree. I mean, I think he majored in economics, and he's clearly a really smart guy. But he's relatable too, and he's got to be top. I mean, almost off the charts in both those categories because he's the only NBA head coach that didn't at least play some level of college basketball. I mean, he played in high school and he coached some youth leagues when he was in college, but he didn't play. He wasn't even a manager for Penn. I mean, this is a guy who, like I said, he's got to be off the charts in those other aspects to even have a shot at getting in the door, in the industry as somebody who didn't play beyond high school.
I agree, but a feel for the game and a feel for people and the ability to lead. And this is a great story. And if they were to win 8 today, and again now you'd have a 2-game lead on everybody for that final spot, and maybe you're looking upwards at Oak City or teams like that. This is a heck of a story as long as they don't make changes. All right, now let me ask you about your new gig. What exactly are you doing for CBS? And I believe you're going to be doing some college basketball, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the primary focus right now. So, I've just been doing some kind of basic stuff, just helping them out with the major national headlines so far. But I was on the ACC Coaches Teleconference this morning, working on something. I think I mentioned it last week. Still working on it about how the 3-point line being moved back 17 inches has affected the college game, and it has. I mean, 3-point shooting across the country is down. It's way down in the SEC. And the teams that are doing it well are having success. I mean, Louisville has really reduced the number of attempts with the deeper line, but its effectiveness from beyond the arc is way up in terms of percentage, and they're obviously playing really, really well. So, it's pretty interesting because I think it's a good move for the college game to move that line back to the international or FIBA line, but there are some teams that have struggled, and the SEC as a whole has a number of teams that are really, really struggling, and I think that's reflected in the fact that the league as a whole is not having a very good year.
What, if you recall, is the decline? I mean, what percentage?
It's a percentage right now, 1 point. I mean, it's like last year. I've got the numbers right here. So last year, it was for the country like 34%, and this year it's down to about 33%. But then in the SEC, it's down. I mean, like 2.5 points.
Wow.
Yeah, and the attempts are down too. So it's not even like they're just taking as many and just aren't making as many. They're taking fewer and they're making even less. So it's, I mean, obviously, a product of just sort of personnel to a certain extent. But I don't know what to attribute it to. I need to get on the SEC teleconference and sort of pick the brain of some of the coaches in that league. But it's very noticeable. And I haven't crunched the numbers for the American yet, but I would imagine that it's also down in the American as well.
When you see something like that, the athletes aren't getting worse. You just have to attribute that to their being used to, from high school to playing AAU to playing in college as we knew it until this year, that line. And that's the line they know as the 3-point line. And really, it's a little further back than what was 19.9. So now they've moved it back, and now you're a little bit behind that, the FIBA line. And I think it's just an adjustment until you figure it out.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's only a couple of feet. And so for the top line shooters, if you look at like Syracuse or something, they're taking a ton of threes and they're making a higher percentage of them because you just got these elite shooters. It's not going to matter, but for your guys who aren't specialty guys, it's going to have an impact. But the good thing I think is that it's they're trying to space the floor more in the college game, and they're trying to sort of keep the game from getting too heavily reliant on 3-pointers. So it's probably a good move for the game. I'm sure NBA scouts don't mind getting a more accurate look at who is truly a good 3-point shooter. So I think there's some positives to it. And Wolo, I just pulled up the American as a whole, is fourth from the bottom, just barely above the SEC in shooting 32.5% this year. And I'll have to compare that to last year, but it's another example of teams of local interest in the SEC and then also in the American, are down.
I don't think they're going to change it quite yet. I hope they keep it as it is because I think in the end it will work out. It shouldn't be a gimme shot. Maybe it shouldn't. They're only down 1%, so I don't know that really changes your whole philosophy about taking threes. To me, you still take the threes because even if you shoot a lesser percentage, it all works out in the end because it's worth 3.
Yeah, I mean, the analytics are pretty clear. I mean, and it's been totally embraced by the NBA and by some college programs, though not nearly to the extent of the NBA, that a high volume of 3-point shots is actually a pretty effective way to score the basketball. I mean, if you just do the math over time, as long as you're shooting a decent clip from beyond the arc, it's a way more efficient shot than a deep 2. I mean, if you make 3 out of 10 3-pointers versus 4 out of 10 deep 2s, well, you get 9 points for the 3-pointers, but you only get 8 for the 4 2s. So you might as well take that step back. And even if you're only going to shoot 30% on the 3, it's still more useful than the 40% you were shooting on the 2. So that's sort of just something that's become more and more embraced throughout the game. And, college teams are going to have to kind of figure out if they've got the personnel to get on the bandwagon there.
What were the ACC coaches saying about the threes?
Yeah, it was funny. Like Roy Williams. I mean, obviously North Carolina is just down statistically across the board. They're just really, really struggling this year. But he's still trying to collect more information on it to figure out. I think on a given year, he might sort of tailor, maybe play more zone. And so he was saying that he was going to have his assistants come back to him at the halfway point of the year, which we're about at, and give him some information and make suggestions to him on maybe how they should alter the way they're playing based on how this new 3-point line has affected the game. But he kind of made it sound like all that's just kind of gone to crap as they've disintegrated this season. So it's interesting. Some coaches have a strong opinion on it. Others don't. Like Mike Bray at Notre Dame, they are a high volume 3-point shooting team, and they're shooting better this year. They're shooting more. The 3-point line is deeper, but they're shooting better. He said he was really, really worried before the season that it might sort of disrupt the way they play, but it hasn't. In fact, they've gone up in 3-point shooting percentage while a lot of the conferences have gone down. So, another way I think it'll impact the game is I think you might see an even higher priority placed on the ability to shoot from the outside in recruiting. And you need a guy who has demonstrated range because the high school 3-point line is still what it was, in the early 2000s. I mean, there's been 2, in the 90s. I mean, there's been 2 collegiate extensions of the 3-point line since the shot was introduced. But the high school 3-point line has obviously stayed the same. So, you're going to have to get a little deeper into the weeds to figure out if the guy you're recruiting is just a good 3-point shooter on the high school level, or if he really has the range, to do it for you in your system in college.
I'll say this much: Notre Dame 2-4 this year in the league, and 11-6, and probably not at this point an NCAA tournament team. So Mike Bray, he can take all the threes he wants. He better figure out a way to score a little bit better. North Carolina is 1-5 in the league. They're 8-9 overall, and they've got 2 games left with Duke, 2 games left with Florida State, 2 games left with Louisville.
Yikes. The crazy thing was that Cole Anthony says he wants to come back. They haven't put a date on it yet, but this is a guy that's like a consensus top 10 pick in this year's draft.
Right.
Who, could just decide not to play another game, and he'd be fine. But he wants to come back. So, at this point, I think North Carolina would be lucky to get into the NIT. But man, another one in that league in the ACC, defending national champion Virginia, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country last year, has just gone completely in the opposite direction in that regard this year. They lose Kyle Guy, they lose a couple other players who could shoot it. And I wasn't able to get Tony Bennett today because Virginia plays tonight, so he wasn't on the call. Man, I would love to kind of get his thoughts on the 3-point line. I mean, this couldn't have happened to him in a worse year to have the shot get even more difficult because of the personnel changes that they've had. Another one that's interesting is Pastner. Wolo, did Pastner teams like take a lot of threes when he was at Memphis? I don't remember, or were they near the bottom in terms of like 3-point attempts?
They were probably near the bottom, and in threes made, they were near the bottom.
Yeah, and that's exactly how he's been at Georgia Tech. And I mean, I'm just looking at sort of, you know, them over the years, and just think that, man, if Pastner wants to kind of cut it as a power conference head coach, he's going to have to change his style, I think, a little bit, because I mean, his Georgia Tech teams have been, you know, very much near the bottom of all power conference teams in that category, and they've really struggled. And I wonder if there's a correlation there, because they don't take many of them, and they don't make many of them, and their teams don't win many games.
Well, I would say this for our buddy. He had really good players inside. I mean, Josh had he had Dedrick Lawson, he had Tariq Black. He did have good guards with the Four Kings, but they were better slashers for the most part than shooters. Maybe Chris Crawford was a really good 3-point shooter.
Right.
Then the kid from Briarcrest that had his problems late, that was Austin
Nichols.
Austin Nichols. He was another really good inside player. He'd step out every once in a while to shoot three. So did Lawson, but for the most part, your best players were inside. I think that's really why he probably devised more plays in than to rely on the perimeter. It's always interesting chatting with you. I know you're going to love this new college basketball beat. Next week, we'll talk about, hey, this is incredible. The top 25 teams lost last week to unranked teams. I don't think that's ever happened before, and now we get 7 new number ones.
Yeah.
And that ties the record, yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's going to make the tournament, I think, this year could just be unbelievable, because you're going to go into it and there's going to be all this, I just think, controversy over who's going to be the number one seed. I don't think it's going to be very clear cut. And then, you know, I mean, it's going to be a situation where you feel like almost anyone could beat anyone. And I mean, that's kind of what makes the NCAA tournament great already. But it can be really out of control this year in a good way, in an entertaining way. I know people say that maybe it's not good for the sport. There's that kind of narrative out there now that, there's no dominant team, there's no Zion in the game this year. Okay, I get it. Maybe from a marketability standpoint, there's not that huge star. Thanks, James. But
that's right. There could have been.
You know?
I'm with you. There could have been.
But yeah, I think the tournament could be as fun as it's been in a while this year.
He's David Cobb. You're going to soon be reading him on CBS. Thank you, David. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Wolo.
That is David Cobbs, brought to you in part by this new thing the Pink Palace is doing, and I can't wait for it. If you're a Tigers fan, you got something really extra special to look forward to. Coming in March, not only is it tournament time, it'll be the opening of the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace. You can come to the Pink Palace Museum in March and experience 100-plus years of the Tigers men's and women's basketball programs, from their beginnings as the West Tennessee State Normal School all the way to right now with Precious Achiuwa. Don't miss the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace. It'll start opening in March the 7th. We take the time out. When we come back to Tulsa, we go to a relatively surprising Golden Eagles team. They were picked at the bottom of the bunch, and at the moment, Tulsa has really been a lot better than we would have thought. They are sitting at 12-6, and they are 4-1, tied atop the AAC with Houston. Their voice, Bruce Howard, is next on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 FM.
Hey everybody, what's the best new thing to kick off 2020? A new All-Star Chevrolet. You cannot believe all the zero finance deals and cash back on the new 2019s and new 2020s. 0 for 72 on most new All-Star Chevy Silverados, 2019 or 2020s. Plus, you get thousands off MSRP and bonus earnings when you finance with GM. Every Silverado truck you're looking for is at All-Star Chevrolet right now. So if you're ready to kick off 2020 in your new Chevy, head to Olive Branch this week. Not the Pike, not South Haven, not Mount Moriah or Collierville. It's got to be Olive Branch, people. And everybody at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch has one job: to make sure you get a better deal that's more fun and enjoyable and in record time. And be sure to ask about all the deals on the new Blazers and Traverses. So find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch today, or check out allstarautogroup.com.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. And we give you this magic music, which will inspire the perfect hire to begin clog dancing. Okay, there's no magic music, but skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Post your next job at Indeed.com/hire and try skills tests for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, it's Flo. And you know what word I don't get? Shampoo. The first half of the word is sham, and the second part you definitely don't want to see in the shower. That's why I made up a neat word: Flotection. The feeling of security you get when your new house is protected by home insurance through me and Progressive. I mean, seriously, shampoo? What part of that makes you want to rub it all over your hair?
Save an average of 17% on car insurance when you bundle home and auto through Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. Their newly renovated drive-in repair shop is open to the public. Whether it'll be your everyday driver, farm equipment, fleet vehicle, or heavy-duty truck, their ASE-certified technicians will get you back on the road. The on-site dyno is ready to run all the necessary diagnostic testing. From preventative maintenance to complete overhauls, Mid-South Power can handle it all. Stop in today at 3288 Mill Branch Road or call 901-396-0710 and online at mid-southpower.com.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Our friend Bruce Howard set to join us here. We'll talk a little bit about the Golden Hurricanes, who knocked the heck out of Tulane. The big kid Igbanu they got is pretty darn good. They got a kid that was at LSU named Brandon Rochelle, who scored 16 and had 7 rebounds. Frank Haith is putting a team together that is probably a little bit better than most people thought, because if I recall, they were picked way down in the preseason rankings, and we'll see exactly what Bruce has to say about that. I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Supercuts. You know my friend Bruce Howard, he always looks sharp. He looks like he's been to Supercuts. Every time I go to a game, he's got a new haircut. He's got to have a deal with Supercuts, probably. It's just so easy in Memphis. 15 locations, for goodness sake. All you have to do is go to supercuts.com, walk through the door, ask about a particular haircut. Could be a little bit more conservative, like Bruce Howard's. It could be like Drew's. It gets a little bit more on the sloppy side, a little longer. Could be like, a rock star. They know them all. That's the truth. They know details. Details matter. Every hairstylist, it's their business. They know about all of the new cuts, and every haircut ends with a hot towel finish. You leave relaxed and invigorated all at the same time. It's a cool phenomenon. Go check it out for yourself. Tell them we sent you, and know this: you always feel good when you leave. Why? Feel good? Yeah, because every time you leave Supercuts, you look good. Bruce Howard, voice of the Golden Hurricane, joins us now. I was trying to remember. What were you guys picked preseason poll?
10th.
Yeah, I think you're going to be better than 10th. That happens every year with you.
Hope so. Yes, you hope so. We always seem to outperform whatever the pick is. And by the way, I do have a haircut scheduled for tomorrow.
I figured,
but it is not at Supercuts. However, I'll say this: you're not going to believe this.
Don't tell me.
My barber's name is Kevin Luster. Can you believe that? If you were to name a barber,
Kevin Luster.
Yes. And when he retires, then I'm going to go to Supercuts.
There you go.
Been with him for 20 years, 25 years.
You always look good, so you should tell the guy don't retire. That would be the best
there
thing
you go.
I would tell you. This league today, if you look in the coaches poll, 3 teams. And I've heard people say, and I think this is kind of fair. And without James Wiseman, I don't know that there is a super team or even a team, if I'm being as objective as I possibly can be, a team as good as Houston's 30-win team from a year ago. So maybe the very top is not quite as good as it was in the American, but the bottom, the East Carolinas, the Tulanes that have been really lame for the last couple of years, they're much better. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think you hit it right on the head. This is not your daddy's, ECU, and this is not your daddy's Tulane. And Tulsa just went through that gambit, if you will, and played at ECU on Wednesday and at Tulane on Saturday and won them both. So I would suspect there are not too many teams that'll be able to run that one necessarily. And I just think there are going to be some more teams that go through Greenville and go through New Orleans with an L. So for Frank Haith, that was a very, very good road trip.
You've been hot. You've won 4 of your last 5. And, if you go back, your loss before that was Kansas State, where you lost by 2. What's made this team better now than the one that lost to UT Arlington, for instance, or Arkansas State?
Probably. They had a core of guys, coming back. If you're Tulsa, and you're talking about guys like Elijah Joyner and Lawson Carita and Jariah Horn and Martin Zigbanu. That said, just about everybody else was new. So with Frank's defenses, I think it's just one of those things where you got to get used to it, especially with his zones. You have to have a really good understanding of where you're moving and all that sort of thing with the matchup zone. So I think it just took some time for those guys to kind of get an idea of how that thing works. And I think it's gotten better. Now I would say as of a week ago, you still would consider Tulsa kind of, a little bit inconsistent, almost wildly inconsistent. You win 70-44 against Tulane, and then you lose at Cincinnati by 75-44. So coming into last week, but then the big win over Houston. So that's back up on the top of the roller coaster. The key was, can you some way, somehow start kind of leveling that thing off? And Tulsa did that, this past week. So I think they've kind of found themselves a little bit. And I think all coaches kind of do that. You shorten your bench a little bit, you get into league play, and I think Frank has found who can do what and how they can do it and all that sort of thing. I mean, it's always it's always a thing you got to figure out as a head coach is what's the chemistry and that sort of stuff. And I think Frank's kind of gotten that figured out at this point.
How did you beat Houston?
Well, just played hard. First of all, they play the bully ball, so you better play hard and you better play harder than them. So I think they met and maybe even exceeded their physicality. Tulsa did lose the rebounding battle, but only by 5 or something like that, or 6. I can't remember. But you got a chance against Houston to get out rebounded, by 12 or 15 or something like that. So, and I think playing at home helped a little bit. Tulsa defended, and Tulsa didn't allow Houston to get up and down. I mean, Houston does like to bring it. After they get the ball, they don't usually hesitate. So Tulsa's transition back was really good, and so they forced Houston to play more half court than probably Kelvin Sampson would like. So that was it was a really good win, and and one that was that they really needed because they had just come off that Cincinnati game, and that got them to 2-1 and kind of propelled them off to the road this past week.
I would have to think you did not turn the ball over much, and I don't think you turn it over a whole lot. You guys are just like 13.5 compared to the 17 with Memphis. But then again, Memphis plays faster than you guys will. But in that game against Houston, they usually force a lot of turnovers. I suspect that you didn't turn it over very much.
No, turnovers were not that much of a factor. And I will say this: Houston's really, really good.
Yeah, they are.
Let's see, I'm looking at it now. Well, Tulsa actually turned it over 16 times,
wow.
But they forced 15 turnovers from Houston. So I mean, it kind of evened out, as I look at the numbers. But they don't have those really athletic 6'3" guard assassins like Brooks and Davis. Those guys they killed Tulsa in past years, and they just don't quite have that guard play that they've had in the past. Now they're good guards. I mean, there's no question Houston is very talented, and they've got some some guys that can play. Marcus Sasser is a highly recruited player who's going to really be good. But their guards are more, instead of the 6'3" guys that are really athletic and rebound well, they got more of the 6'5" guys like Nate Hinton, who, by the way, also rebounds very well,
Yeah, he
nearly
does.
10 a game. So, I mean, they're just their shape is just a little bit different. Maybe that helped Tulsa a little bit because they sure as heck didn't match up well against the Brooks and Davis team from a year ago. I don't know if anybody did.
Well, those guys could hit threes from anywhere, and
right.
You're when you're talking Tulsa, I am assuming you still play that crazy zone defense, which is hard to beat, and you don't see it all the time. And if you don't have shooters, then you're in trouble.
Right. And that helped certainly. I mean, Houston in that game ended up shooting 39%, and Tulsa was at 46%. So that was certainly a big advantage for the Golden Hurricane. And the interesting stat, Tulsa's won 12 games, and there has not been a win for Tulsa where the opposition has shot above 40.3%. So every single win, it's been right around 40 or below. So I mean that's kind of at this point 12. That's all 12 victories. That kind of becomes a trend when you're looking at stats. You got. So if Memphis is shooting 48%, I think they've got a good chance to win the game.
Brandon Rochelle, the kid that transferred, I guess, from LSU, he takes more shots than anybody. You mentioned getting to know your teammates. Normally when somebody comes in that's new and you've got other guys that have come back that were accustomed to being, big-time shot takers like Horn, let's say, or even Igbanu inside, how did that go over? And, what's the chemistry like with that?
It actually went over quite well because Brandon Rochelle actually came into the season kind of as, hey, you know what? I play defense. I play hard. I get on the floor. He did all of those things early in the year, and for whatever reason, it kind of resulted in some offense. All of a sudden, he really coach was always talking about, hey, he's a terrific defender. He's long. He's going to be one of our best defenders, and blah blah blah. Never really mentioned a whole lot about his offense, and all of a sudden, this guy's scoring. He's scoring from all different angles and that sort of thing. So it's been his intensity and his defensive play has not been a surprise. But what's been a little bit of a pleasant surprise, obviously, is the way he's been able to score the ball. And he's really never been on a team where he's been their leading scorer. And it actually hurt Tulsa for a little bit. And the lull that they had at the end of the non-league schedule and the beginning of the league schedule, he was starting to press, and he was starting to try to put the whole team on his back and that sort of stuff. And that's just not his game. He probably lost more skin than anybody else on the team diving on the floor for balls. And that's something that gets a little contagious. Everybody else wants to do it as well. So that's why the team has kind of embraced him so much, because he plays so hard. He really does. He plays exceptionally hard. And you never saw any acrimony at all from some of the other guys. And, you may get to this, but Martin Igbanu inside had kind of struggled making the chippies, and he's starting to make those now and playing the way that he played in his junior year and his sophomore year. So he's coming on for Tulsa. And
I guarantee.
Without him inside, Tulsa can't be effective.
I'm sure he will play well tomorrow, although now the emergence of Malcolm Dandridge for the U of M, that has helped with big bodies, so that should be kind of fun to watch. You've played a bunch of good teams, including Arkansas and Kansas State and Cincinnati and Houston. Who's the best team you've played?
Well, the best team that day was Arkansas. It was they made every single shot, and of course they're playing at home, and the Sue Piggy stuff and all that kind of stuff, happened, and they just got it rolling. And Tulsa hadn't quite figured out, their defense yet. And so that was really they scored 98 points against this defense. And, if you just look at the record this year, nobody's going to do that except for Colorado State. Got 111, but they had 80 at the end of regulation in a 3 overtime game. So I'd say Arkansas is the best team that we've seen, although I think that they're not I don't know if they're as well balanced as maybe some of the other teams like a Houston or even a Cincinnati in terms of offense, defense, and all that. They just were hot that particular day. I think Kansas State is kind of what Kansas State is, which is really tough, and they play good defense, but they have a problem scoring. They don't score the ball as well as maybe some of the Wildcat teams in the past. So, to this point, I guess I'd have to say Arkansas.
You've watched a lot of college basketball over the years. Can you figure out why we have so much parity going right now? Why 12 teams in the top 25 last week lost to unranked teams?
I think it's because everybody's got players. I mean, there are just more players out there. I just think that, the explosion of basketball and the popularity of the NBA, kids want to play ball. They want to play basketball. And I think there's just more good players. And it seems like every time heck, early in the year, and you may have experienced this, but, Houston Baptist comes in and Tulsa only beats them by 8, but they got 2 good players. UT Arlington obviously beat Tulsa by 14. Austin Peay comes in and they had a good player. Boise State comes in and they've got an NBA guy that the scouts were looking for. It just seems like, Southeastern Louisiana played Tulsa to a 7-point game. So it just seems like every team, especially these teams that are in lower conferences, they come in, they got a chip on their shoulder, they got 2 good players. They generally got one big guy and one little guy that's good. And I don't care how many good ones you have. If the opposition gets hot and they've got a couple of pretty good players, they can ride those guys on a particular night. So I think that's part of it. And I love it. I mean, I think, to me, the league and college basketball in general having that sort of parity is terrific for the game.
I think you're on the money with part of that. I do think there is more really talented athletic players that love basketball and that play the game. I think the other is the transfer portal, and we see more and more of that. So there's a lack of continuity because I'm not sure the game's played better than it was, but it's just played more evenly than it used to be. Less continuity and people transferring all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, how many times you're doing your prep, Dave, and you're going, okay, Houston, Grimes is from Kansas, and Gorham is from Towson, and 2 players from UMass, and then you look at Tulane. Man, it's nothing but
everybody's transfer.
It's nothing but portal players.
Yeah.
KJ Lawson, obviously, and then a kid from Seton Hall and from Georgia and from who knows? Oh, Norfolk State. I mean, there's Rhode Island.
Well, if I go to you, Rochelle came from LSU, and didn't Horn, the kid whose dad played for Memphis, didn't he start at Nebraska?
Yep. Started at Nebraska. Yeah, I mean, it's all over. I'm not casting any aspersions at all. It's just kind of the way the game is now. And Tulsa had 2 players, one from Arkansas, that transferred in that didn't get waivers. I mean, it seems like all they have to do is kind of have a pulse and they get a waiver. And I don't know what happened with the Tulsa players, but they had two really good wings that they thought would really help them this year that did not get the waiver, and so they'll be available next year. But I think Frank was kind of dependent on those 2 guys, or at least one of the 2, to come and play. One's transfer from Georgia Tech, and the other from Arkansas.
We know all about that. That is for sure. Because we got a kid from Florida, Isaiah Stokes, still sitting. I could talk to you all day. Thank you very much. One last thing: what's the weather going to be like tomorrow and Wednesday?
Looks like a high maybe 40.
Oh, that's warmer than here.
Tomorrow, 40, 42. But I think I heard maybe rain at the end of tomorrow at 39, and that's raw, man. You don't want that. Wednesday, maybe a little bit better, maybe up into the 40, 45.
Thank you,
somewhere
Bruce.
in there. Don't know if you can go golfing, but
no,
you can try.
I'm definitely not doing that. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it, and I'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bruce Howard, longtime voice of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. We take a break. We'll put a wrap on our number 2. Wow, this day's going by quickly as you listen to Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab a seat every afternoon for Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 FM and 87.7 FM.
Hey everybody, what's the best new thing to kick off 2020? A new All-Star Chevrolet. You cannot believe all the zero finance deals and cash back on the new 2019s and new 2020s. 0 for 72 on most new All-Star Chevy Silverados, 2019 or 2020s. Plus, you get thousands off MSRP in bonus earnings when you finance with GM. Every Silverado truck you're looking for is at All-Star Chevrolet right now. So if you're ready to kick off 2020 in your new Chevy, head to Olive Branch this week. Not the Pike, not South Haven, not Mount Moriah or Collierville. It's got to be Olive Branch, people. And everybody at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch has one job: to make sure you get a better deal that's more fun and enjoyable and in record time. And be sure to ask about all the deals on the new Blazers and Traverses. So find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch today or check out allstarautogroup.com.
I want to invite you to come by the Spirit Shop. You know, that little log cabin on Poplar, your liquor and wine oasis. The Spirit Shop has been providing sports fans their beverage needs since way back in 1969. So come in now and get ready for the big game. Whether your favorite team wins or loses, the Spirit Shop will help you celebrate or ease that pain away. The Spirit Shop is open every day, and they're located perfectly at 4848 Poplar. That's the corner of Poplar and St. Nick.
Fox tonight.
Show 'em what we got.
First, a new 911 series.
Welcome to Austin.
New heroes.
This crew can't just be good. You gotta be the best.
Same call.
What the hell is happening?
Rob Lowe, Liv Tyler, 911 Lone Star. The two-night premiere event continues. Then, fall's #1 new show, Prodigal Son, is back with the question everyone is asking: where's Malcolm?
No one can hear you scream.
You sure? I'm a pretty good screamer. Tonight, 8/7 Central on Fox.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
And the coach calls timeout.
Wait a minute, you can't call timeout when you have leaks and Mother Nature is roaring through your home.
A technical foul from outer space may be in order.
Don't know about that, but we can measure your roof from outer space at BrianElderRoofing.com.
So if you need repairs or wondering if you think you may have a claim,
call me before you call your insurance company. And we've got 0% interest for 60 months with approved credit. We won't try to sell you a new roof if all you need is a repair.
My friend Chris Price, a longtime donor of the U of M. Call him, 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
God bless America, Penny and Mike, and go Tigers.
And now back to the game.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes decisions right here at home. Dedicated to helping you get to your better place, First Bank Mortgage. Call Daniel Mooney at 901-462-0145 today. NMLS 741022. Equal Housing Lender.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Vegas has established the Chiefs as 1.5 favorites over the San Francisco 49ers. The last time these two teams played was a long time ago. Super Bowl numero that wasn't the first one. That was Green Bay and Kansas City. That's right. But nonetheless, the Chiefs, a very, very early entry. They were in that very first Super Bowl. Lenny Dawson and all those guys. That is for sure. I guess I'd go with Kansas City in those points. What? Wouldn't you? 1.5?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to something you said, I think, in the first half hour of the show. When you get to this point in the season, it normally does come down to quarterback play, other than, what was that, the last Denver Super Bowl win on Peyton Manning's last year. That was pretty much the last real. And then the 10-3, I guess, with the Rams. But for mostly when it's all about the Super Bowl, it comes down to offense and who's got the best game manager and the best quarterback, and that's Kansas City, no doubt. I mean, I know you love Jimmy G, and
I do love Jimmy G.
He's had an incredible year, but he doesn't stack up to Pat Mahomes.
No. I've said this. You can take your guy, Lamar Jackson. You can take Deshaun Watson. You can take any of these young guys that I think are going to be good quarterbacks and long-standing quarterbacks. But I think if we're talking about the next elite guy, the next Tom Brady, or the next Peyton Manning, whichever you think was the zenith of a generation, I think that's Pat Mahomes, because he can really do it both ways. He's got the best arm of all the guys. He throws at different angles, and he is uncanny about when to run and when not to run. And you saw the classic run that he had that broke the spirit of the Titans last night, right at the end of the first half.
Yeah, I think your assessment's correct between, I guess, those three and anybody else that you want to throw in there for that discussion, because while Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes...
I should have mentioned Mitch Trubisky. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to stick with those three. I'm not going to throw in Mitchell Trubisky into this conversation. But out of those three, where they all play similar styles of football, there's a lot of RPO play, quarterbacks that can run. Patrick Mahomes is, I don't know the best, but as far as longevity goes, he's going to be there longer because of his body size, because he's bigger than both of the other two, because he's has more weight on him. He can withstand those hits longer. I mean, a guy like Jackson, let's face it, if he's going to continue to play the way he does, he's going to have to gain some weight. He's going to have to put a little bit more body mass on him. Otherwise, his body's going to start to deteriorate, and he's going to get hurt faster than anybody else, because Jackson, I think you could probably count on one hand this year the amount of times he slid and tried to avoid the contact. I mean, he's a guy who's going to take the hit.
At the end of their careers, who's got better numbers? Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, all the same style.
Numbers or rings?
Numbers.
I'm going to go with Lamar. I think Lamar's going to have the better season in and out numbers. Now it's just, can he start to perform a little bit better in the playoffs? I know only 2 playoff games in his very small career, but if we're talking rings, I think it'd be Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think Mahomes, and I think it's numbers and rings. I think he is the guy, but I'm really not trying to take anything away from your guy, because I think Lamar Jackson is terrific. I thought he was great at Louisville. They have played halfway through the second quarter, and New Orleans having the best of the Grizzlies at the moment. Grizzlies are down now 10, 52-42. We take the timeout. We got a busy hour coming your way, including Mike Keith. He'll talk to us about the Titans and the Chiefs yesterday, and then we'll chat a little bit at 5:30 with my friend from the from the Washington Nationals, formerly of ESPN, Bob Carpenter, on all this baseball scandal stuff. That's coming your way on the final hour of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Frontier Western Store in Olive Branch is your one-stop shop for apparel and boots. Cold weather is here, and Frontier's selection of Carhartt winter gear is just what you need. Shop a wide assortment of jeans, dungarees, vests, bib overalls, and coats, including Carhartt's classic Sherpa and quilt line jackets. You'll find Carhartt quality at that Frontier low price. A new year brings plenty of new arrivals in Frontier's ladies' boutique department. Dresses, tunics, tops, printed and solid leggings, and so much more. Thousands of tops, t-shirts by Simply Southern, as well as on-trend shoes and fashion boots. And finally, there's the world-famous Frontier Boots showroom. Thousands of name-brand boots for men, women, and children. Ariat, Corral, Rocky, Dan Post, and many more. From rugged work boots to classic dress boots, Frontier has your next favorite pair. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road, Olive Branch, or on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
I'm a big fan of Town Village, and there is always something to do year-round. Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. Looking for a great place to retire, but you still have a very active lifestyle? Then visit Town Village. Only requirements that you're 55 plus. Prices per month starting at $2,300. The Gourmet Chef welcomes you to visit our restaurant and bistro. Package includes 3 complimentary meals per day, maid service, free local transportation, daily check-in, monthly coffee club, themed dinner parties, lots of fun. Visit us and call Daniel or Bo at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home. Town Village Audubon Park.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for fall flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. We're located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs. Look forward to seeing everyone over the holidays.
Pop Wigington has been in the restaurant business since the 70s and has now brought 3 generations of family favorites together under one roof at Pop's Comfort Kitchen, 2990 Kirby Whitten Parkway next to Kroger. Pop's takes you back to a simpler time when food and life was more wholesome. Settle down today for lunch or dinner at Pop's with daily specials like country fried steak, fried catfish, chicken and dumplings, or Pop's famous fried chicken livers, all served up with your choice of 23 fresh vegetables like field peas and snaps, seasoned green beans, sweet corn and turnip greens. Hungry for a sandwich? Check out the Chuck, a hand-patted cheeseburger between 2 grilled cheese buns topped with lettuce, tomato, diced onion, pickles, fried egg, and bacon. Or a half-pound flat iron steak sandwich served on Texas toast. Don't forget one of Grandma's homemade desserts like chess pie or banana pudding. Take comfort today at Pop's Comfort Kitchen, 2990 Kirby Whitten Parkway next to Kroger. Pop's Comfort Kitchen.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1, and 87.7 FM, as well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, tell Alexa or Google to play Sports 56. If it's happening in the world of sports, we've got it covered. Wherever you are, stay tuned to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in hour number 3 on a very chilly, wintry day. Well, it's January. I guess we should sort of expect that. Hope you had a peaceful Martin Luther King Day. Grizzlies and the Pelicans going at it right now at FedEx Forum. I'm sure it was a very meaningful and stirring symposium that they had today. And again, we'll just sit back and thank guys like David Stern and Michael Heisley. And Andy Dolich, for that matter, for making this a part of the fabric of the community. We do appreciate that. I appreciate my friend Mike Keith, the longtime voice of the Tennessee Titans, on a day after his team falls in the AFC Championship game to Kansas City, 35-24. He is kind enough to still come on with us and talk about it. And Mike, I know those kinds of games, and they're tough because you had a 7-0 lead in this game and a 17-7 lead in this game, 10-0 and 17-7. But if I said to you after week 6, when you were 2-4, that you were going to win 7 of your next 10 and get to the AFC Championship game, I think you'd have taken that deal.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you make the Final Four. You love being in this situation. You like having the opportunity. We simply ran into a team yesterday that's just a better football team right now, and they've got one of the great stars in our sport. We needed him to have a bad day, and guess what? He didn't. So, it's easier to take that than if you fumble 6 times or you have a punt blocked or whatever. It's not easy because you love being on this run, and you love how it's energized our fan base all over the area. But at the same time, I think, pretty good run for this team and certainly something we can build on, Dave.
No doubt. Although, and I'm going to ask you about this in a little bit, about 19 guys with expiring contracts, how you keep that whole thing together. But I want to talk with you first about Mike Vrabel. And there were a lot of whispers at 2-4 about how, well, this might have been a mistake. He can't do it. Same thing for Memphis's own Arthur Smith, who I thought was brilliant with the tackle-eligible play yesterday. And really, when you're running an offense and you're saying, we're giving it to Derrick Henry, and we're going to figure out ways to run it. You stop it, and nobody can. That says a lot about him too. That was a dynamic duo, and they really you're not kidding. I know they supercharged Nashville, but I think the whole state really sort of fell back in love with pro football.
I think they did too, and I want to talk about Arthur Smith for just a second. Arthur Smith was the guy that when my friend Matt LaFleur became the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, he was the only guy we lost off last year's staff, and he became the head coach of the Packers, so I guess that was okay. But the first name I thought of is we've got to promote Arthur Smith. And the only question we had is, because Arthur is so quiet, does he want it? Does he want to be an offensive coordinator? And thank goodness he did, because he's really a brilliant mind. He's worked under several head coaches. He understands the run game. He understands the pass game. And what a job he did with Ryan Tannehill. What a dynamic duo they were together. Really excited for him. And early in the season, the play calling wasn't the problem. Unfortunately, the quarterback play was the biggest issue we had. People have asked, what was the big improvement? And it was quarterback play. And the fact that we got that kind of quarterback play, giving us an opportunity to take advantage of this creativity that Arthur has. He can even take the simple and make it creative. It's pretty special.
It is amazing, too, that you can pinpoint it, that it really was the change to Ryan Tannehill from Marcus Mariota, a guy that was a Heisman Trophy winner, a guy that you paid a lot of money to have come and stay in Nashville. Where do you think it was? What was the bottom line? What finally pushed Arthur and Mike to go, we got to make this move?
I don't think they had any choice at the time. Mariota just was not getting rid of the football in a timely manner. He was just holding it too long. There were open receivers at times, and it was about decision-making at that point. And the thing that Tannehill came in and did well is he's very decisive. And in most cases, that really paid off for him. He hit receivers. He hit receivers in tight windows. He threw guys open. I'm not saying he didn't play well, but I think he took advantage of a system. It's the most creative offense we've had since Mike Heimerdinger was here. And that was the difference. I think the world of Marcus Mariota, all of us associated with the team were just sick when it didn't work out, and are still sick about it, because he's such a great person. And, you know, he's the face of our franchise. Davey's on our billboards. He's on the side of the stadium. I mean, to have this not work is crushing, personally and professionally, because we had banked a lot in him as a franchise. Mm-hmm. But it was obvious at that point to everybody that he had had a fair shake. And even if you loved him personally, you knew we had to make the change, and it made the difference. Unfortunately for Marcus, but fortunately for the Titans. And
then there's Derrick Henry, who had, well, things that people hadn't done in 50 years. 3 straight 180. And people know, okay, here he comes, stop him.
Well, the Chiefs did a pretty good job yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
They were able to slow him down. The biggest way they were able to slow him down, though, was with their offense. They kept the ball, and we couldn't get back out there and get started. You know, they scored 28 straight points, and that put us in the hole. We could only run him 3 times in the second half because, A, we didn't have the ball, and B, we were behind too much. So that's a great job by them. But overall, yes, very hard to stop this young man. Very hard to really even slow him down. His year was extremely special, and very happy for him for the way that he worked through difficulties through the first 3 months of 2018. He was not playing well and just kept working, kept improving, and it really has certainly paid off for him in the last, 13, 14 months.
Yeah. So what happens with him? He's a free agent. You got 19 guys on expiring contracts. How many of these guys will you re-sign?
Well, we're going to need some of that West Tennessee wisdom that John Robinson has, because he's got the biggest tricks on, sort of that he's got to deal with in his fifth off season. Probably more of those things to deal with than since his first year. You're right. He has roughly 20 guys on expiring contracts. Some of them are big names, like the Tannehills and the Henrys and the Conklins and the Ryans, guys of that ilk. And then some of them are role players, but guys who have been important pieces in the machine. They can't all come back. I mean, we just don't have money for every one of them. And so what are those decisions? The quarterback thing, from a financial standpoint, remember, Mariota this year playing on that fifth-year contract, making roughly $21 million.
Right.
So that money with what Tannehill was getting, whomever the quarterback is, it's basically going to be a push in terms of dollars for the quarterback. If you sign Henry to the contract that is rumored out there, one of those Le'Veon Bell type contracts, right, or Ezekiel Elliott contracts, that's a lot of money than you've spent on a running back since Chris Johnson. And then that means there's got to be money come out of somewhere else to be able to pay for it. So, I mean, some real decisions for John Robinson. I'm glad he sits in that seat and I do not.
I would say this most of the time. I don't think you ever pay that kind of money to a running back, especially in today's game. But with what I've seen from Henry and his age and his coming of age and what your other options are and the way this team is built, although it'll be built differently when you're going to change 20 faces or potentially could, that is a tough call. I sort of lean in the direction that he might be the one running back like Ezekiel Elliott was, like Walter Payton would have been. Those are the kinds of backs that if you identify them, you do it, because you're always going to need a running back, especially in red zone areas, and you got a guy that's got he's a sledgehammer of a guy. So that almost makes me think it's worth it. Most of the time, I would not do that. In this case, I think I might. But it's tough.
I'm with you. Normally, I mean, we gave Chris Johnson the second contract, and that didn't work out, unfortunately. I mean, he played fine, but it was not the same sort of impact, and we were not as stable as a franchise when we paid Chris Johnson as we are right now. I think you're going to be interested to see what you do at the quarterback position. And certainly every indication is it looks like they and Tannehill are amenable to work something out. But, you don't know what the agent says. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. But the other thing about Henry, too, is we don't have Henry's successor on the roster. We don't. And if you had that young back who was ready to go, it might change your mindset. Now, can you find him? Yeah. I mean, you can. Those guys are out there. The guys come in and do a great job. But he's 26. They took good care of him at Alabama. He had 1 year where he carried a lot. 1 year. He's not been overworked with us. I think he's got roughly, even counting playoffs, 1,000 carries in 4 years. So it's not like the Eddie George phenomena where he was carrying, touching the ball 400 and something times a year. I kind of tend to go with you on that, and we'll see. But again, what's his number? What does his agent want? What's out there? We'll see.
Tough calls for John Robinson on a lot of different fronts. How about defensively?
That's an area. I mean, I think we need more speed in the secondary. I think we saw that yesterday. I think probably another pass rusher is something that we're out there looking for. I think we hit the jackpot with Jeffrey Simmons. I think what he's going to be in year 2 is going to be totally scary. Jarrell Casey continues to be an important and talented player for us. named to his 5th consecutive Pro Bowl today. And love having him here and what he brings. But speed, got to add some speed on that defense, particularly in that secondary. When you saw what Kansas City did, and you know everybody's going to try to mimic them now. Everybody's going to try to have a track team like what they do. Not easy to do, but that quarterback is pretty special with that group of receivers and the tight end that he has. They are brutal to stop, and truth be told, we just couldn't run with them yesterday.
Well,
having Malcolm Butler would have helped, but would it have helped enough? I don't know.
The bottom line is he's got 2 speedsters and that tight end. I mean, he and then he can take off.
Watkins.
And he can take off. I mean, that's the issue. I mean, to me, the whole game changed at the end of the first half when he made 7 guys miss.
That and I think he's John Elway-esque because he can move around and he can run, but with his arm, he can throw from anywhere.
Right.
I mean, the 60-yard pass to Watkins, he had given 5 yards of ground due to a pass rush. For virtually any other quarterback in the NFL, that's a horrible choice. But he's the guy, who can take the 3-pointer falling backwards from 30 feet. And you say, no, and then you go, yes.
Right.
That's the talent that this guy has. He is Michael Jordan-esque.
I'm with you. The thing that I love about him is he knows when to run and when not to. And he has the sense of timing, like at the end of the half. And the guy throws from so many different angles. I asked Drew, our producer here, just a little bit ago. I mean, I said, if you give me Lamar Jackson, who is most likely going to be the MVP this year, you take Russell Wilson, who we know is an unbelievable quality quarterback in that same mold, and then you take Patrick Mahomes, and you say, at the end of the day, when their careers are over, which one of those 3 guys do you think will be the best? Who's the next generational guy like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were? And I'm telling you, I think it's Patrick Mahomes.
It's Patrick Mahomes. And the other part of it, too, is think about this. Dad pitched in the big leagues.
Yep.
His godfather is LaTroy Hawkins, who's basically like another uncle, pitched in the big leagues. He has grown up around pros. He's a smart kid. He's a studier. He's like Peyton and Brady and Breeze. He loves the game. He eats it up. The decisions that he makes are not made out of foolishness. He understands that some of these off-schedule plays are going to be there when he does certain things. So he has those qualities. I compare him to the John Elway because Elway would make these throws and you'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I mean, and the receivers know what to do with him. He's a special young man. He really is. As a football fan, I can't hate him. And as an opponent, you want to hate that guy. It would make it a lot easier. But it was like how Andrew Luck was, and it's how Deshaun Watson is.
Right.
You're on the other team, and you want to hate them, but you're like, man, they're so good for the game.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's another guy in that same mold. I agree with you there. All right, so you played Kansas City. You know how good they are, and they got the best quarterback. I think we're in agreement there. Most people say the most complete team is the San Francisco 49ers. They are a little bit like you. Unbelievable D, unbelievable running game. They lost Coleman. I don't know if he'll be back for the Super Bowl, but how do you match up Super Bowl 54?
I don't, because they are so different that on the front end, I say, okay, is Mahomes going to pass them silly, or is San Francisco simply going to overpower Kansas City? I don't know the answer. I can see either scenario. I think this game is a complete toss-up. It should be one of the best Super Bowls that we've ever had. It ought to be an absolutely phenomenal game.
And you got a guy that you should be able to relate to in Jimmy G, because he's a quarterback that all he does is whatever you ask him to do. He executes. He's not going to go out and get you prolific passing numbers, but he'll do that if you need to. His accuracy will be okay.
Right.
But they're based on real teamwork and creative play calling and enough weapons that they do it as a group, and that defense is outstanding.
Yeah, Garoppolo's pretty good too. I mean, we had Garoppolo in for a pre-draft visit, and our general manager at the time, Rustin Webster, really liked him, and really felt like he was going to be something special. And when the Patriots drafted him, our hearts kind of sank a little bit because we sort of hoped he might be around. And he's a good player. He's a better player. I know he threw 8 passes.
Yeah,
but
that's it.
He can throw more than that if he needs to. He's pretty good.
He really is. Last thing, we're talking to the longtime voice of the Tennessee Titans, Mike Keith. This was a cool year, and I know it wasn't Motor City Miracle, Music City Miracle, excuse me. I know it wasn't that. But
I knew what you meant.
But it was. It was a start of 2-4, and everybody had you written off, and there were a lot of people that were, talking about having to make big changes, and fortunately, the ownership did not do that. They stuck by their guys, and in the end, it was very rewarding. Where would this season sort of rank for you?
Well, it's top 2 or top 3. I mean, it's very special because this is the year. We've had 4 straight winning seasons, and so we've got some stability. Our owner's a smart lady. She's put a lot of money into the franchise, into advancing the football side, and we're a lot better off. We have great stability, just that rock solid foundation. But by getting the credibility wins at New England against the team of the century and the defending champs, and then at Baltimore over the number 1 seed and the player who will be named MVP, we got our fan base reinvigorated. People believe again. People now believe we're on the right track, back to something special. And I feel the energy that I felt in 99 and 2000 and 2002 and 2003. That's what makes this year so special for me, to see our fans finally really charged up again. And it was up to us, Dave, to get them excited. Mm-hmm. It was our responsibility to win some of these games, to make them believe again. And now that's happening, and that's fun.
And it's nice. I don't know what kind of guy Mike Vrabel is. I know a little bit about Arthur Smith because I know his dad and his brother Cannon, and I've listened to Richard speak, so I know what they're like. But my image of Mike Vrabel is so positive just by the way he handled this whole thing.
Well, Mike Vrabel's a special guy. He really is. He likes to give me a hassle all the time on the radio and everywhere else. He likes to give everybody the business all the time. He's always sort of poking at you. He likes when you poke back. It's fun. It's interesting. It's exciting. The thing that surprises people the most about Vrabel when they're around him is how smart he is. And he wanted Arthur in that role because he came in and he was blown away by Arthur, and then Arthur had done an amazing job for several years for 3 other coaches, and I think it's been rewarding to see both of those young men, and they are young men to me, Dave.
Yeah.
Do the job the way that they have and have the success that they're having. I mean, it's nice when good things happen to good people who've worked hard and deserve it. And for both Vrabel and Arthur Smith, it's good stuff.
He is Mike Keith, longtime voice of the Titans. Always love catching up with you and chatting with you, Mike. We'll do it again, hopefully sometime soon. Enjoy a little time off. I guess you get that. And, just sit back and reflect on a heck of a year.
Well, it was a lot of fun. We got work to do, though. Free agency's only 2 months away, so we'll get a little time off. But we got the combine and all kinds of stuff coming up. We're excited.
All right. You take care, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on today.
See you, David. Thank you.
Mike Keith from the Titans. Brought to you in part by Genesis of Olive Branch. Again, I love chatting about the best luxury car on the market. No doubt in my mind. I've driven many. This thing, you get in there, you feel the difference when you get in that cushy seat. Then you can put the heater on like today. You can put the steering wheel warmer on today, then accelerate. By the way, you got different modes with this car. You can drive eco, economy. You can drive smart, where the car actually learns the way you like to drive, your acceleration patterns, how you'll leave a stop light. Honestly, incredible. Then you can go sport. That's the fast way, where you just touch it, and to me, it's like a rocket ship. And the fourth one I haven't even tried yet. It's called individual. So I got to check that out. 4 different modes of drive, each with its own characteristic way. Where else do you get that kind of choice? And the computers that make this car so safe, you can see everywhere. You can do a forward screen, a backward screen. You can see above the roof. I still don't know quite how. I thought they did it with Google Maps, but they don't do it with that. It's cameras and mirrors. And I don't know. I mean, it's just incredible. And, you know, safety's amazing. 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new car. And the service that you get at Genesis of Olive Branch, well, it's just beyond compare. Go see Chris True. Ask about shopper assurance. You'll love what you see. That is for sure. Everybody does. And you can't help but love the best luxury car going. Genesis of Olive Branch. Back in just a minute, my friend from the Nationals. That would be Bob Carpenter. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Listen up, Rebel fans. You can now listen to Rebel Yell Hotline on 87.7 FM or on the web each and every Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. If you can't listen to 87.7 FM, Sports 56 has made it possible to listen online each and every week. All you have to do is go to sports56whbq.com and click on the Rebel Yell Hotline banner to listen. That's Rebel Yell Hotline each and every Monday night from 6 to 7 p.m. on 87.7 FM or on the web at sports56whbq.com.
Heater trouble? Make your first call your last call. Call Air Doctors of Memphis, 901-598-HVAC. Owner Matt Davis is a third-generation full-service air conditioning and heating specialist. Air Doctors of Memphis services all major brands, and labor and parts are guaranteed 100%. Their special winter price for a heater tune-up is just $59, and 24-hour service is billed at normal rates. Your comfort is their highest priority. Contact airdoctorsofmemphis.com or call 901-598-HVAC.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day, group play, and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say barks.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
And the coach calls timeout.
Wait a minute, you can't call timeout when you have leaks and Mother Nature is roaring through your home.
A technical foul from outer space may be in order.
Don't know about that, but we can measure your roof from outer space at BrianElderRoofing.com.
So if you need repairs or wondering if you think you may have a claim,
call me before you call your insurance company. And we've got 0% interest for 60 months with approved credit. We won't try to sell you a new roof if all you need is a repair.
My friend Chris Price, a longtime donor of the U of M. Call him, 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
God bless America, Penny and Mike, and go Tigers.
And now back to the game.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in Martin Luther King Day. New Orleans on top of the Grizzlies by 16. Early in the third quarter, plenty of time. I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by the commissary. I'm about to head to Tulsa. That's where our friend Bob Carpenter is. And, they've got this notion about what barbecue is. Most of the time it's like brisket. They don't really know. It's good. Brisket's good. He's taken me to a couple of places. He's got the Crib Shack there. I think it's called the Rib Crib, something like that. Nothing. Not like the commissary. Not like the ribs that you get at the commissary, wet or dry. Not like the 36-hour bird, what they will give you for the holidays. Nothing like that. Or the deviled eggs or the lemon icebox pie. It's incredible. And now the commissary has doubled their space. Originally just in Germantown, that quaint little place in that little quaint neighborhood. This one's big. Doesn't have a telephone pole in the way of the parking lot. It's actually got a drive-through, triple the space, patio, where there'll be some bands probably when it warms up a little bit, and they've got TVs out there where you can watch college basketball now. Maybe go watch the Super Bowl there and have the best food right there. But you can always pick it up and take it out because the Collierville commissary, they got a drive-through. They make it so easy. We've doubled the pleasure and fun with commissaries. One in Germantown, same place as always. The new one in Collierville, that would be at Houston Levy and Poplar Road. Bob Carpenter joins us now, fresh off a World Series run. I don't think have I talked to you since you became the kings of baseball?
I think we had a little get-together maybe right after that, right after I got home. But, I figured, you're ducking me, and, the Cubs didn't do a whole lot this year. My guys won the World Series, and your silence has been deafening.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, by the way,
yeah,
Wolo,
yeah,
Bush League move, killing my barbecue in Oklahoma when my microphone's not even open to reply. Come on.
Well, here you go. You really believe you want to go there? This is why we have a world championship in Memphis.
No, I don't want to go there with you and barbecue, but because I love Rendezvous, been there. I've been to
Corky's.
I've been to I haven't been to all of them because unfortunately, and you and I have talked about this, I haven't been to Memphis in a number of years, and I got to get back.
You do? I got golf
hang out with you, play some golf, and we'll see how that goes. But we got a place here in Tulsa that I haven't been able to take you yet. You were right on Rib Crib. That is the name of the place, and Coach Cal and you and I used to hang out there with the boys when the Tigers would come into town back in the old Conference USA days. But we got a place over here called Burnco that has some ribs that'll knock your socks off. So I'm sorry.
Now, you know what?
You're going to be here all day Wednesday, but my bride and I are leaving town for a little trip for our 40th anniversary. We're going to go where it's warm for about 4 days, and sorry, I'm going to miss you.
I am, but happy congratulations. It's his 40th wedding anniversary. His lovely wife, Deb, has put up with this guy for 40 years. It's amazing, and I'm really happy for you. So I know you're going to enjoy that. You know, that
And
place,
I've known you for most of that time.
Yeah, you have. Now,
Probably all but about 5 or 6 years of it.
Yeah, I think that's right. Maybe maybe 3 or 4. Now, I do have to ask you this. That place that what did you just mention, that rib place? Burnco. I went there with you, and they were out of ribs. I didn't get to eat the ribs. I did not get to eat the ribs.
You know what? You had practice. We went there, and we got there too late for the ribs. You're right.
But you know what was
I
good,
gotta
though?
take you back.
The brisket was good.
Yeah, but that's how good this place is. If you're not there by noon or 12:15, the ribs are gone because they only do, X number. That's right. We did go there.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. All right. I got to ask you, and I don't want you to incriminate, obviously, any team that you've been an announcer for, and you've done them all going back to your ESPN days when you were doing all those national games. But how prevalent do you really believe sign stealing, particularly cheating with technology, is? Is every team doing it?
I don't think every team's doing it. I think we're fooling ourselves if we think only the Astros and the Red Sox did it. There have been a few things come out about the Yankees and, some things going on the last couple of years. Wolo, it's an impossible question to answer, but I have to think there are some guys around baseball shaking in their boots right now because, who knows when the hammer might fall or the shoe may drop, and we know some more about this whole thing. I'm sure the commissioner's office is going to be looking at everything. And, I kind of salute what they did last week and the week before, because sometimes in baseball, the machinery of investigations and all that turns very slowly. I mean, you want it to be done right. It's not as, instant replay is still faster than investigations. But, the punishment was pretty swift. The punishment, in my opinion, was pretty harsh. Some people think it could have been harsher. I was talking to one baseball person a couple of weekends ago who thought that there might be lifetime bans from baseball coming out of this thing. And then I think it was exactly 2 days later, a week ago today, that we heard about, year-long suspensions and then, teams firing those guys who had been suspended. But there were some people in baseball, I think, that were maybe expecting, if not hoping for, even harsher punishment than what we've seen so far.
Well, those people use usually this rationale, I think, and that is, if you're the Houston Astros, you're not the New York Yankees, you're the Houston Astros. Is it worth $5 million, 4 draft picks, and you lose your manager and your GM for a World Series, a title you've never had?
Some people would say it's worth it.
I think they would.
And I would say to those people, have a little heart here. It's not all about a trophy. If you cheat, it's cheating, Wolo. That's cheating. Steroids was cheating. The Black Sox back in 1919, they cheated, through the World Series. Forever tarnished when supposedly they had by far the best team in Major League Baseball that year. And, and they almost got away with it until the owners hired Kennesaw Mountain Landis to be the first commissioner. And, baby, did he drop the hammer on them. So, talking about lifetime bans. So, this whole thing, I don't think it's worth a World Series championship, because now, in the hearts and the minds of anybody who wants to, think about this thing for more than 5 seconds at a time, which is a challenge in today's society, it's forever tainted. And I think for a lot of people, the Red Sox win in 18 will be forever tainted. I ran into a couple of my ESPN buddies in town, down in Norman last week. I went down for the Oklahoma-Kansas basketball game. Mm-hmm. And we were talking baseball because Boog Shambi was down there, one of the ESPN baseball basketball guys. Even Jay Billis, we're having this conversation. And I said to them, can you imagine what would be happening in baseball right now if the Astros had beaten the Nationals in Game 7 and won another World Series, and then all this stuff came out. The Nationals, by winning the series, unbelievable thing for Washington, D.C., for everybody in our organization who has worked so hard for a number of years. But can you imagine the stuff that would be hitting the fan right now had the Astros won that World Series and not my Nationals? It would be one of the ugliest things ever in baseball. And thank God the Nationals won that thing.
I wonder if there would have been more calls for vacating that World Series than there have been.
Yeah. And, baseball's not the NCAA as a rule. They don't do that sort of thing. And I read a column about that. I don't know if it was Jason Stark or Kenny Rosenthal, one of the great baseball writers who write for The Athletic. And they said, people say, well, you got to vacate the championship and all that stuff. Well, do you vacate all of their wins during the regular season? Think about the at-bats, the hits, the homers, the results. And then somebody else, if you vacate the championship, do you also vacate their record and nullify the statistics? Which means a different team would have qualified for the division title and eventually, the American League pennant and the World Series championship. So, just to vacate a title, it sounds like something, snap your fingers, let's go do that and take it away from them. But in baseball, a game that is so steeped in statistics and numbers, it would be a strange thing to try to do.
Yeah, I don't think that would have happened. I think what would have occurred had they decided, let's just say, the 17 Astros, the 18 Astros, take away those wins, but you're not giving the World Series to the Dodgers. You're just taking away the stuff.
Yeah,
the glory.
You're right. That's the only thing they could do. I happen to have a conversation on another radio show today with Rick Monday.
Oh,
yeah, he's coming over here to Oklahoma next Monday to speak at a baseball banquet here. And, we were talking about this thing, and Rick said Dodger fans are making a lot of noise about it. Now, Rick doesn't live in L.A. during the off season. He lives in Vero Beach, their old spring training stomping grounds down there on the east coast of Florida. But, there's all kind of stuff going on in L.A. They're burning up the lines and the radio shows out there because the Dodgers have lost the last two World Series to teams that now have been identified as probably, if not cheating during that series, maybe cheating to get there. And this whole thing is so complicated and so convoluted. I just hate the fact that we're talking about this stuff during the season as opposed to, are the Cardinals going to get Nolan Arenado? That's the stuff we should be talking about right now.
Well, you're right. You should be. And it's funny that you say that. We had Tom Ackerman on from KMOX the other day. And that was
Tommy. What a great broadcaster.
We're not talking about Jack Flaherty, who was actually in Memphis for the Cardinal Caravan. We're talking about this stuff. And this is what we're talking about with you. And personally, I don't think Arenado should go to St. Louis. But,
Well, hey, the Cardinals have done nothing other than signing one pitcher. The Cardinals haven't done anything during the offseason, so I'm sure their fans are thirsting for something big to happen. Arenado would obviously do that. But the Cardinals may be the most cautious team in baseball in giving away or trading away young players or prospects or, major league ready talent. Would Nolan Arenado make the Cardinals an instant contender?
Yes.
Probably. Hey, Wolo, remember the conversation you and I had last year when they got Paul Goldschmidt? And I talked about how better they would be defensively with Paul Goldschmidt.
Yep.
I've talked to a couple of Cardinal guys who think that he saved 20 to 25, maybe even 30 errors from the other infielders on that infield last year. If they put Arenado on one side and Paul Goldschmidt on the other, with Colton Wong at second base and Paul DeYoung at short, they're going to have the best defensive infield in baseball. And, that's before we even start talking about guys' offense. So it'll be interesting. But, again, this is the kind of stuff we should be talking about right now and not who cheated their way into a World Series. It's unbelievable.
Last thing I want to talk to you about before we get out of here, and it's along sort of these lines. It's not about personnel now, but baseball's come out. And you mentioned the Black Sox a little bit ago, the 1919 White Sox, that allegedly threw the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds. And And
allegedly,
Shoeless Joe Jackson hit
he did not do it.
375 in that World Series. He's the guy that got the lifetime ban. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
they all did, but he appears to be the one guy who changed his mind and he just couldn't play badly.
The bottom line on all of that is this. The baseball is considering, and I personally kind of think it's a Pete Rose rule because I've said all along, Rose doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame till he dies. And this seems to be where we're going. It was a lifetime ban, but his life is ended. So if you got a guy who had most hits in the history of baseball in a World Series, 12, and that was Shoeless Joe Jackson, you got the greatest contact hitter, maybe hitter, of all time in the history of the game in Pete Rose. They should not have the adulation that you would get, the honor of being in the Hall of Fame while you're alive, but your deeds are worthy of getting in. You should get in for historical purposes after you're passed. I think that's a good rule. I'd love your take.
Yeah, I really haven't thought about it that much. And I know, we have a broadcasters award, the Ford Frick Award every year, awarded to a broadcaster, and a lot of every third year, somebody gets that award who's been gone from the face of this earth for a long time. Those guys, as far as I know, didn't have any scandal. I wish they would have been honored when they were still around to have that honor. Yeah, so this whole thing, when you're talking about people like that from baseball's past, it's a complicated thing, and maybe that's the message you send, that if you cheat, you're either not going to get in, or if your numbers are so big that people cannot ignore them and can't just brush them off, then maybe you get in after you're gone. All I know, Wolo, is I hope this is not the tip of the iceberg. I do believe that there are a number of other teams who have done this. I hope they're all so scared to death by what happened to the Astros and to the Red Sox that they won't do it again. And baseball should have somebody at every ballpark, and maybe that person needs to be out in the batter's eye before every series or even before every game, making sure there's nothing out there that's going to let this happen again.
Bob Carpenter.
Because you got to have the camera. You got to have the camera in center field to make this happen.
Yeah, no question. Bob, as always, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you before spring training, I am sure. I'm so sorry. I'm going to miss you in Tulsa this time.
I know. Hey, I know you had my buddy Bruce Howard on a little while ago, the voice
I did.
of the Golden Hurricanes. So I'll be watching and have a good ball game tomorrow night. TU's playing pretty well.
Yeah, it's Wednesday night. We're coming in
Wednesday night. Yeah. Yes. The Wolo and his entourage arrive tomorrow night.
There you go. Thank you, my friend.
Safe travels, my friend.
You got it. Thank you. You have fun time in Florida.
Thanks, buddy.
That is Bob Carpenter, long time voice of one of the great voices of baseball. I'll let you know he's brought to you in part by the Spirit Shop. I know you got to stock back up. You had a weekend. It was fun. You probably ran out of stuff watching the NFC and the AFC championship games. Well, where do you go? You go to the Spirit Shop. That's so easy, so convenient. 4848 Poplar and St. Nicholas. Eddie Connor, my buddy, if you're looking for a bargain, he knows it. If you're looking for premium, he knows it. If you're looking for an up-and-comer, he knows it. And if he doesn't have it, he'll find it for you. He's also got accessories. He's got beer. He's got it all, even those cocktails in the can. I love that stuff. I love the fact that this place looks so small, like a little log cabin on the outside. Inside, you wouldn't believe how much product is in there. Go see for yourself. Tell them we sent you. Head to the Spirit Shop. Back with Crunch Time and a little bit more. That comes your way next on Sports Time with Wolo and Stats.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
The Vault on G.E. Patterson in South Main downtown has all your game day needs with 30 TVs. If your game is not on one of the 20 big screens, then sit in a booth with your own remote. The Vault has game day specials on pitchers, buckets of beer, and great food, which is the best thing about the Vault. This is not your normal sports bar. Chef Dirk Meitzler from On Tour and Cafe 621 has all his favorites like Chicken Newport and his new lobster enchilada. Open for lunch and dinner every day with lunch specials for $12 weekdays with a drink. The Vault on G.E. Patterson in South Main, your downtown place to eat, drink, and watch the game.
Did you learn your ABCs when you were a kid? Well, as a grown-up, it's time to learn your CBDs, as in CBD edibles, oil tincture, pain cream, and beauty products. All found at Your CBD Store, with 3 locations, Poplar Avenue, North Germantown Parkway, and Goodman Road East. You'll find all natural, organic, and non-GMO products. Need to learn more? Your CBD Store has a knowledgeable and friendly staff that can answer questions, help with choices, and put you at ease about your CBDs. Your CBD Store, with 3 locations, Poplar Avenue, Cordova, and South Haven. Your CBD Store, making it as easy for you as ABC CBD.
Fox tonight.
Show what we got.
First, a new 911 series.
Welcome to Austin.
New heroes.
This crew can't just be good. You gotta be the best.
Same call.
What the hell is happening?
Rob Lowe, Liv Tyler, 911 Lone Star. The 2-night premiere event continues. Then, fall's #1 new show, Prodigal Son, is back with the question everyone is asking: where's Malcolm?
No one can hear you scream.
You sure? I'm a pretty good screamer.
Tonight, 8/7 Central on Fox.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Grizzlies are getting walloped. They're down 25 with a minute and a half to go in the third quarter, 95-7. You got to make a run. This portion of the show brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Group, and there's good news. There is a new partner, Britt Linder, who's also been around the business for a long, long time. So basically, if you now join the Eflin Group and you are going to be taken care of by them, you get access to a multitude of A-rated carriers as determined by AM Best, locally owned and operated business now, serving the Memphis area community all the way back to 55. And I can tell you, knowing Matt, he's been great and unbelievable for 20 years, but think about going back to 55, over 300 years of combined insurance experience. They specialize in home, auto, umbrella, and small to mid-sized commercial accounts. We're talking personal or business. They are a service-first agency. They treat you like family. That is how they are growing now. Brett Linder has joined the Eflin Insurance Group. It is time for Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is Geraldo. It is crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Boop, boop, boop. That's what you're getting.
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Here's what I learned today. Jalen Green, the great prospect from high school, 6'5" combo guard. He's not going pro. He's let everybody know he's not going pro. And I've seen several different recruiting services that give a lean as much as 85% Memphis.
Love those numbers. So what I learned today was that Dusty Baker is the newest rumor to replace A.J. Hintz in Houston. Baker obviously has not been a manager since he was with the Nationals in 2017. He seems to be on the short list with former Blue Jays manager John Gibbons and former O's manager Buck Showalter.
The story I could have done without this, De'Ara King is transferring to Miami. So the young man sort of let his team down, but he was asked to by his coach, Dana Holgerson, to do it. Many thought he might end up in Nebraska. Many thought, okay, he's going to go to Oklahoma. He'll be the new Jalen Hurts. He's that kind of a kid. He is going to Miami.
That's also what I could have done without today. So I felt the move was very Kelly Bryant-y. You know, from last year, I think he picked Missouri, and it was just a bad choice for him. And that also goes for Felipe Franks, who has just announced that he will transfer to Arkansas.
Felipe Franks is going to Arkansas.
He's going to be a Hog.
Wow, that's big news for them for sure. Last portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Building. You know Ken. He's got this new fantastic, by the way, wonderful development called Alaylon, a gated community by Boyle, Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom homes starting at $875,000. And it doesn't get any better than Ken. 901-751-1632. What I'm watching tonight, I'm going home. I'm going to watch the end of the Grizzlies game. They need to make a run. We'll see you here tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone.
To call yourself an explorer, you should possess a few essential qualities, like a yearning for adventure and back massages from available multi-contour front seats with 5 active motion massage themes, and an available 980-watt 14-speaker B&O sound system by Bang & Olufsen, and an available heated leather-wrapped steering wheel with paddle shifters. The 2020 Ford Explorer, completely redesigned and more comfortable than ever. It's the greatest exploration vehicle of all time.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. For more than 26 years, they've supplied all the diesel parts that you need. From simple repairs to complete overhauls, they have it all. Whether it's heavy, medium, light-duty, agricultural, marine, or off-road, Mid-South Power is the leading source for all things diesel. Fuel injection, turbochargers, engine parts, alternators, starters, and brakes, they can supply all the parts and services you need. Stop in today at 3250 Mill Branch Road in Memphis or call 901-396-0710.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char-broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We baste our ribs on the plate and sprinkle our seasoning all over them.
So Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis in the alley since 1948.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
The Vergas family, legendary Memphis restaurateur, starting with Mr. Charlie and continuing today with his grandchildren.
Brett, it just dawned on me the other day that while Memphis is celebrating its bicentennial, the Rendezvous has been here well over one-third of Memphis's existence. But we're not a place to rest on our laurels or reputation. We're always trying to add new things to make our customers' experience more enjoyable. Friday lunches have always been special because we give away our red beans and rice. But we are now adding a sausage sandwich.
John, we first got a taste of it at the golf tournament.
It's the same sausage we serve on our cheese and sausage plate, but it will be served lengthwise on the bun with beans and slaw on the side. We've also partnered with a company called Devillet out of Dyersburg to introduce a new sweet glazed mustard with Rendezvous seasoning in it. It will really go great with a sandwich. I still recommend adding slaw. As I've mentioned before, my grandfather had a hot dog stand on Beale Street in 1916, and that's the same slaw he used. So here we are now 103 years later, and we've come full circle using his slaw on our hot dogs. Hope to see you this Friday at the Rendezvous.
In the alley in downtown Memphis.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Lemon Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Lemon Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemonbrace.com.
Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame. He owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world, then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043, 888-789-5043, 888-789-5043.
Your options and your legal rights. Chelsea Rainey is dedicated to advocating and protecting your rights. Your initial consultation is free, and attorney Chelsea Rainey is always on call, always available at 647-4861. That's 647-4861.
You finally found it, the vehicle of your dreams. You know it's got everything you want, you just don't know the price. Until now, shop one-price pre-owned vehicles today at AutoNation Ford Wolf Chase. Now, every pre-owned vehicle is clearly marked with our lowest price, guaranteed. That means no negotiations, no pressure, just one low price. And every certified AutoNation pre-owned vehicle is inspected in 125 different places, so there's no worries. Plus, your purchase is protected with a money-back guarantee for 5 days or 250 miles, whichever comes first. And as America's largest automotive retailer, you can shop one-price pre-owned vehicles from over 250 stores coast to coast. That's something you can count on. Shop over 20,000 one-price pre-owned vehicles at AutoNation.com or visit AutoNation Ford Wolf Chase. Drive pink, drive safe, drive now. AutoNation. Certain terms, conditions, and restrictions may apply. See store for complete details.
Southern Sports Report is being brought to you today in part by Gateway Tire and Service Centers, where there's always one thing you can count on. We go the distance for you. So before you hit the road for a trip across country or just across town, drop by any one of our 12 Memphis area locations. Whether it's tires or auto repair, you can always count on one thing. At Gateway Tire and Service Center, we go the distance for you.
Memphis Sports Radio welcomes you to the following presentation of Southern Sports Report.
The following program contains frank and honest commentary on sports. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Gateway Tire and Service Center's Southern Sports Report with John Rainey, the Rain Man, and Whitey Mills with Stat Attack Sports in Springdale, Arkansas. You can join the show by dialing 360-8255. Can't get to a phone? Email us at theboys@southernsportsreport.com.
Southern Sports Report is being brought to you today in part by All-Star Sports, celebrating 41 years of excellence in sports handicapping. Van Atkins Jewelers in New Albany and Oxford. Why Van Atkins? Because you know she's worth it. Parks and Recreation, luxury doggy daycare and boarding in the heart of East Memphis. Voted #1 in Memphis Most 3 years in a row. And of course, Gateway Tire and Service Center. At Gateway, we go the distance for you.
Phone lines are open, and first-time callers are welcome, needed, and appreciated. And now, live from the All-Star Sports Studios, here's John Rainey, the Rain Man, and Whitey Mills.
And welcome back to Southern Sports Report. I am your host, John Rainey, the Rain Man. It is the Monday, January 20th edition of the show. Mr. Drew Barrett's on the other side of the glass. You're waiting on your phone calls, 360-8255 or 888-360-8255. That'll get you in there from about anywhere you go. You can email us, theboys@southernsportsreport.com. Tonight, that includes Mr. Whitey Mills with Stat Attack Sports over in Springdale, Arkansas. Mr. Mills, what say ye?
I say it's been a beautiful but chilly day over here. Things are looking quite well for the weekend, so I had a great day health-wise myself. So life is good.
Outstanding. Except for one of the teams you were rooting for this weekend wasn't so outstanding for them.
No, situation. Excuse me. Pardon me. I did like Tennessee to cover, but I also like San Francisco. But Tennessee just did not play up to the expectations I had, and I guess I fell into the Tannehill trap. So it wasn't too good a day on that front.
Well, we've just back and forth all season, and where one weekend you're killing them, and the next weekend I'm killing them.